All right. Hello, hello. Happy 4th of July for those who celebrate it, and for those like myself where it's just another day, happy Tuesday. Um, we are back on Chaos Child tonight. So, shit got weird last time. The intro video keeps scaring the shit out of me, and I can't stop it. Just as a quick reminder, 4th of July here generally means fireworks. I do have PTSD. The fireworks can get a little rough on my nerves. I am currently very well medicated, so I might be a little more bubbly than normal tonight. But if I cut off, if I pause, if anything like that, I'm just trying to sort of recollect my thoughts. Um, Everything is fine, just trying to, you know, keep some of that shit at bay. So, let's go back and look at what we did last time. So, oh my god. Um, So Nono was cooking dinner like a grandma at Alba Dorm for Sakuma and the Tachibana siblings, who he says need to live like kids. Nono is nervous about Takuru, and Sakuma reminded her that she's the one who stuck by him in physical therapy and declared him her protectorate. Takuru and Serika hid in a hospital bathroom trying to find the sumo sticker creator, and we imagined her laughing at us going number one. That was a weird delusion. Let me just. We've had some weird ones, but I think that one currently takes the cake. Ito called to say the camera and investigation got busted. Because remember, Nono figured it out. And yeah. When we snuck out, the door to the psych ward was somehow open, just like at the hotel. We found a room with sumo painted on the walls in blood, and Nono got stabbed, so the club's fate is in peril. Takuru went home for the first time in a while and recalled that his parents were murdered. We have to impress at the culture festival to keep the club alive, and Nono wants us to fill in for her at the student council. Watabe wants an interview and is generally sus. Our first positive delusion with Kazuki turned into Star Wars, but in real life she kicked us in the shin. Our second positive delusion went from typical fan service to body swap shenanigans. And yes, I will say, 4th of July is a very good excuse. Look, I am into anything that is an excuse to eat tasty food. So, like, if that's what you use it for, I 100% approve. Just, fuck the fireworks. October 9th, 2015, Friday. Hiroko Tashita was working at her part-time job as a grocery store cash register. Her husband was always out working late, but he didn't actually make any money. His airheaded personality meant that he was perennially stuck in lower management. Her son was in college and spent all of his time playing. She was spending a lot of money to send him there, but he'd grown into a selfish boy who constantly demanded cars and trips. Of course, their budget was always stretched to the limit. They hadn't built up any kind of savings. They lived in Shibuya, true, but she had to live with her in-laws, which didn't make things easy at all. The idea of going to lunch with her friends from the neighborhood seemed as remote as the fiction she saw paraded on the news every night. She wanted an easier life. Lately, she'd been all sighs. Yesterday, she'd actually sighed at work and gotten a warning from her boss. The store where she worked at was along Meiji Road, about a 5-minute walk from Shibuya. The lunchtime rush had ended, and things were calming down. She wanted to take a little break, but it wasn't break time yet. That will be 3,127 yen. The woman in front of her, who was taking out her wallet, was one she'd seen several times before. She wore fancy clothes and had a slender, attractive body. Her makeup was perfect, too. Even when she was only going shopping at a supermarket. She must live in a different world. Maybe she was what they called a celebrity wife. The woman seemed very anxious as she waited for her to finish. Tashita hadn't even handed over her change yet, and she'd already lifted up her shopping basket. What was bothering her so much? Was she feeling sick? She did seem a little pale. Tashita wondered about her, but they didn't have enough of a relationship that she felt comfortable asking. She handed her the receipt and her change, and the woman quickly left. Tashita greeted the next customer, and then gasped. It was a man. Oh, hello! The fuck, man? Do not harass grocery store workers like this. Like, come on. And he was wearing a mask. The mask had the same design as those things they called sumo stickers. She'd heard about the stickers on the news several days ago. She'd learned that lately they were popular in Shibuya and nowhere else. She'd seen them several times on her way to and from work. It was a disgusting design, and the idea of Shibuya being overrun with the things made her sick. And this man was wearing a mask with the same design. That meant she couldn't see his face. His clothes were completely normal. They weren't particularly filthy, and he didn't look like a pervert or a crazy man. But that made it even stranger that he'd be wearing a mask to hide his face, and one so poorly constructed that it was obviously handmade. Was this why the last customer had seemed so anxious? The man was standing completely still. He didn't say anything to Tashita. And then she realized that she'd been staring at his face for quite a long time. I'm sorry. Welcome. She looked inside his shopping basket. It was filled with several bowls of instant ramen and a single 2-liter. That will be 4,378 yen. As she gave him the total, she happened to see the customers in the other lanes. This time, she was struck completely silent. It wasn't just her register. Every single register had a customer wearing a mask. There were so many of them, and they were all standing silently. There were already 10 people lined up at her register, and all of them were wearing sumo sticker masks. The store never got this busy, even at lunchtime on a Saturday. The only thing the people in the masks had in common was that they were men. They all wore different clothes. A tall man in a sweatshirt, a fat middle-aged man in running clothes, a well-built man in a sweater, and so on and so on. Not all of them looked like they had steady jobs, but not all of them looked like they were unemployed. And not one of them said a word. They just stood there in a line, masks on their head and baskets in their hands. Okay, well, this is nice and fucking terrifying. What the fuck did we start with? Yeah, one of us, no way out. The noisy supermarket suddenly fell silent. All the other employees and customers stared at the men in masks, eyes wide. On my way to the student council room, I remembered that I'd been planning on getting a mountain view and headed back to the vending machines. Only caffeine and carbonation, combined in the mightiest of drinks, could slake my thirst. Oh, I found you. Just as I was about to put my coin in the slot, I heard a voice I recognized. Onoe, weren't you helping one of the classes that didn't have enough people? That's right, yeah. Please come help me. She grabbed my hand and yanked me forward. Wait, I just moved a bunch of stuff. I'm too busy to listen to that right now. You're the only one I can count on. Oh, I found you. I heard the exact same phrase that I'd heard a moment ago. Hey there, guys. Glad to see you two are getting along as well as ever. Huh? Arimura? I was going to make fun of him for how, like, fixated he's been on what she said, but quite honestly, if someone just randomly told me I was going to be killed, like, I would probably fixate on it too. Like, the fuck? Yeah, cat fight, cat fight. I remembered the words she'd said before. It was definitely Arimura who was right in front of me now. The one at the murder scene, and the one who'd been talking to a detective about the case. I could feel myself start to sweat. Oh, Arimura. Why? Aw, I told you that you don't need to be so self-conscious around me. Right, Rika? Huh? Rika? Your name's Serika, right? You don't like it? Is Seri your final answer then? Huh? What? Is it final, or is it your answer? It's my answer. Good. Then you can call me Hina. Let's all say it aloud. 1, 2... Hina? Not good enough. Too slow. One more time. Hina. Still a little stiff, but it'll work. Okay, thanks, Seri. Yeah. What was she doing? This wasn't the same Arimura who told me I was going to be killed. This was how she was when she talked to her classmates. This only made me wonder. Was she planning something? What was she doing at the Love Hotel that day? Oh, what's wrong, Miyashiro? There's so much passion in your gaze. Oh no.
Have you fallen in love with me?
Uh,
What? Have you?
no.
Aw, you don't have to deny it. Just be honest, you. But just so that you know, if you fall in love with me, you'll get hurt.
Uh, it was no good. I couldn't keep up with her energy.
So anyway, Seri, I'm borrowing Miyashiro. Huh?
Before I could say anything, Arimura wrapped her arm around mine and pulled me away.
Hey, Hina.
Yeah, what would you do if I said yes?
Adios, gracias, Seri. See you next year. What is it?
Can you let me go?
Oh, sorry, I didn't think.
She bopped herself on the head and let go of my arm. And then she led me further down the hall, humming as she went. I am so surprised we have not had a delusion at this point. Yeah.
And by borrowing, I mean stealing. He's mine now.
What was she doing? It felt like she was up to something. She must have noticed I wasn't moving because suddenly she turned around.
Aw, come on, don't act so scared. It makes me sad.
She pretended to cry. How serious is she? I can't tell.
Here, right here. Come inside.
She pointed to an empty classroom. What was she planning on doing here? But
It's okay. I'm not planning on eating you or anything.
no, but damn it. In the end, I gave in and went into the classroom.
Now then. Do you know why I brought you here?
Yeah, there's the delusion I was waiting for. All right, do we want to do positive or negative? No, of course not.
No idea.
Do I want to do positive or negative? Positive, all right. That was the only thing I could think of. But seeing the way she acted today, it was hard to believe that it was the same girl. Which is the real her? Maybe. If what I was imagining was the real her, then the reason she brought me here must be... All right, let's see what this positive delusion's gonna be.
You've got such a great voice, Miyashiro.
Do I? No one had ever told me that before.
I've actually got a voice fetish.
Oh god, what am I going to have to say? That was really none of my business.
And your voice qualities definitely lives up to my standards.
Quality? Does it?
Yep, and I'm really into this stuff, so I would know. So I want you to read something just for me.
Read something?
Yes, it's part of the Literature Club's activities, and you're the perfect guy for it.
It was hard to say no after all those compliments. What do you want me to read?
Well, it's...
Yeah, getting laughed at for peeing is embarrassing, but yeah, getting stabbed to death is objectively worse. Blushing, she took out a notebook.
Ta-da! This.
Huh? It looked like a normal student's notebook. There was nothing on the cover. I flipped it open. I was only on the first page and already I was looking at a whole different world. Two pretty boys, drawn in the style of a girl's manga, were holding each other mostly naked. It was drawn in pencil and the illustration wasn't that great. There was even a dialogue bubble. Oh my god, we have homemade yaoi. Oh god. Pierce me with your Excalibur. This is... Yeah, exactly. We're reading her yaoi and lemons. Oh my god. I can't wait to have to say this one out loud. I don't understand. Did Arimura draw this?
This is my idea book for when we write stuff in the Lit Club, but having a real boy say these things aloud will make it easier for me to visualize, you know?
No, I can't.
Please, please.
I can't.
Are you sure? There's no one else I can ask. I have a lot of girlfriends, but I really don't do well around guys. But I can't force you, can I?
Arimura. If she was really relying on me, I couldn't turn her down. All right, just a little. Yeah, this is all his imagination. The real Arimura absolutely is not doing this, and that is what makes it so much funnier, is because the two scenarios we've come up with for her, other than getting stabbed to death that once, is that she is an anime, like, girl cop, and now she writes yaoi in her free time for the Lit Club. Um, like, this guy has the weirdest opinion of her, and I already love her.
Really? Thank you.
She smiled happily. Now that I had actually talked to her, I realized that she was a strange person, but not a bad one. So, what part do I read?
Start from the beginning, please.
From the beginning. She wanted me to read this aloud?
With as much emotion as you can muster. As dirty as you can make it.
Ah. Could I do that? I took a deep breath to calm myself down. Arimura was looking at me with stars in her eyes. It was embarrassing. I couldn't tell her to look away. Guess I'd just have to do it. Pierce me with your Excalibur. Arimura's Arimura's face went bright red. She started to pant, snort, and bang her head. Headbanging is the act of violently shaking one's head up and down, usually seen at rock concerts. It's definitely not something you see people doing by themselves during their daily lives. This was tougher than I thought. Mentally, I didn't know if I could do this. I really wanted to get away as soon as possible. That's enough, right?
Oh, wait, the next page. Can you read the next page too?
The next page? I flipped the page. There was a similar picture and dialogue bubble.
Come on.
Oh, God. Melt your ice pop inside of me. Give me just a second. My there it goes. My HDMI cable is having issues. It keeps blacking out on me.
Yes, yes.
Yes, what?
Next, please.
I give up. Stop it, you big-dicked freak. Arimura had a look of ecstasy on her face. Her eyes looked like she was on drugs.
You're wonderful. You're the sexiest.
I
can't.
And then her whole body started to spasm. Oh my god. A bit of drool was dripping out of the side of her mouth, but she didn't try to wipe it up.
I've never been so excited. Can you do readings for me once in a while from now on? Next time I want to hear something even smuttier. And I'll bring some friends from the literature club who are into the same thing. Don't worry, they're all girls. I'm sure they'll fall in love with your voice. It's okay, right? Right?
And that was how my career as a voice actor in gay porn for girls began. I love how we just had that entire, like, we have a new career now in our heads. It's fine. Yeah, the way that she visibly vibrates on screen, I'm pretty sure she just had an orgasm, and I don't know how I feel about that. If that happened, I'd kill myself. But if that was her only secret, that would be fine. Well, maybe not fine. But it felt like the real Arimura was hiding something more dangerous. That was probably why she'd brought me here. In other words, is this about what happened? Arimura's expression turned serious. I gulped repeatedly, feeling a little overwhelmed. I wanted to ask, too, about that case.
What are you talking about?
Arimoto suddenly smiled. She was smiling, but her voice made it clear that she was refusing to answer my question. Yeah, that was undoubtedly the best illusion we've ever had. Like, I I don't Zuckerberg-kun has a wild fucking imagination and I love it. I would have liked it more if she'd been frowning. I opened my mouth as if being pushed forward by some indescribable fear. I I don't think you can talk your way out of it now. I know that you were there. What were you doing there? She was looking at me, but I couldn't read any kind of emotion in her eyes. I almost stepped back, but I stopped myself.
You kind of sound like a detective, you know that?
And now she was back to her casual tone of voice. Damn it, what's with this girl?
He was an old friend, and sometimes we would meet and talk like that, is all.
That was what she'd said before when she was meeting with that detective named Shinjo at Cafe Lax.
So, we didn't have the kind of relationship you're thinking about. Sorry to disappoint you.
Huh? Sorry.
Oh, are you playing dumb? I bet you had a lot of naughty ideas in your head because of where we were meeting. You boys are such pigs.
No, I didn't.
Oh, come on. You actually got your hopes up a little when I brought you here, didn't you?
No, not in the way you think. No, that's not it. It made sense now that she mentioned it, but honestly, the idea hadn't occurred to me at all. I just want to.
Hmm.
Huh? Adimura looked at me with narrow eyes, as if she was judging me. What was that about?
I brought you here because I wanted to learn more about you.
About me?
So,
She's not wrong. We did, in fact, have naughty ideas, just not in the way she's probably thinking of. She started to rustle through the contents of a cardboard box that had been beneath the desk. Huh? What was she getting out? What was she going to do with me? The gay porn is coming out.
come on, don't be so scared. I just want your help with this.
It was a huge stack of papers. Huh? What is this?
I'm going to bind these pamphlets. Help me.
Uh,
A friend asked me to do it. You know I'm the type who can never turn down someone when they need help, right?
no, I didn't know that. Wait, if they asked you, why do I have to help?
They said they'd give me 2 weeks worth of meal tickets for the school cafeteria.
But why do I...
That's a silly question, because it's faster to do it with 2 people, of course.
No, that's not a reason.
Come on, don't worry about the details. Start by folding these pages in half.
No, I didn't think you were a slut, just a fujoshi. She handed me a stack of printouts without waiting for my response.
Come on, if you've got the time to talk, you've got time to work, right?
Then she ignored me and started to work. I guess that meant she didn't intend to tell me anything else about the case. The detective had said that Kakita, the victim in the revolving dead case, had been murdered, and that she was cooperating and exchanging information with him. But if I asked her about that, she'd find out that I had overheard her conversation at Cafe Lax. Damn it. In the end, I was forced to help make pamphlets for one of the younger classes that I knew nothing about.
It's almost time for the Restoration Festival, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Man, this is so hard to deal with.
What is?
That! I told you, you don't have to be so self-conscious.
Yes, you're right, absolutely. Oh.
Well, whatever. We can worry about that later, I guess.
Huh?
What were we talking about again? Oh, I remember. That's right, the Restoration Festival. Speaking of that, you know those wind chimes in the yard? What did you write on yours?
I don't really like the...
Huh?
Oh, no, nothing. Oh no, I'd said what I was really thinking.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't write one. They asked me to, and I forgot.
What? How come? You need to try and fit in with the group more.
I couldn't argue with that, but I had a feeling that no one got along with the group as well as Arimura.
Still, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe I should have done the same thing.
I couldn't tell if she was faking or not, but at least on the surface she seemed sincere. Arimura, what did yours say?
Do you want to know?
She brought her face up close to mine. Oh, no, well.
Mine said. It's a secret. A girl's secrets are very expensive, you know.
What? I really didn't understand. There was the Arimura I was talking to now, the Arimura I'd seen with Shinjo, and the one that told me I was going to be killed. Which one was the real Arimura?
Okay, all done.
Huh?
Wait, are you not done yet? You're so slow.
I'm sorry.
Oh, fine, I'll help. Give me half.
Thanks. No, wait, why was I saying thanks? There was no reason for me to be doing any of this anyways, was there? What was I doing?
Okay, all done.
I reached up to stretch my arms, and every joint in my shoulders, back, and hips cracked. I'd been helping people all day, and my body felt like it was reaching its limit. Yeah.
So expensive you could spend a decade voicing gay porn and never earn enough to buy them. Thanks! With your help, I was able to get done faster than expected. Grazie, grazie.
So what do I do with these now?
Oh, don't worry about that. I'll have them come pick them up.
I I see. I thought about asking her about the case again, but decided against it. To be honest, the look on her face I'd seen last time still scared me. I'll be going then.
Oh, hold on a second.
Huh?
You're meeting with Watabe tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah, I am. Even Arimura knew about it.
All my friends are talking about it. You're famous now.
Kazuki's classmates had been talking about it too. I guess it really was a big deal. That just showed how famous Watabe was, I guess.
So, I wanted you to do me a favor.
Her suddenly sweet voice made my heart skip a beat, but I tried my best to hide it. What?
During the interview, can you ask him how he took that photo for his big scoop?
Huh? The photo for his big scoop?
The one in his article.
Oh, was that what she was talking about? Why?
Come on, it doesn't really matter. Don't sweat the small stuff, just have fun with life.
But
Fine, fine, I'll give you this, so promise your darling Hinaya you'll help her out, okay?
Arimura slid something into my chest pocket and pushed me out into the hallway. Huh? Wait.
Anyway, thanks! Adios, gracias!
I took out the thing she'd put into my pocket. Cafeteria meal tickets. And only 3 days worth. The nerve! Now that I was alone, everything about Arimura seemed somehow off. Everything that had happened, everything that she'd said, seemed like it was covered in lies. Everything, including the reward I'd been given, made it seem like I was being tricked. Yeah, I don't trust Arimura as far as we can throw her, but... Alright, October 9th, 2015, Friday. Shinjo took out a picture of the face of the man who'd stabbed Kurisu, then showed it to Konosato. Just like he guessed, the attacker was connected to that illustrator in the hospital. Kunosato didn't really react. She listened to him speak as if she knew everything he was going to say already. They were classmates in high school. At one point, they were even making manga together, with one doing the art and the other doing the story.
Is there any chance these two were behind the murders? Do they have an alibi?
The two of them haven't left their rooms, and in the illustrator's case, the hospital, for about a year now. We've got the hospital's security camera records to back that up. As for the man who stabbed the Hekiho student, we have to rely on his family's testimony, but when they arrived at the station... And then a phone rang. Kunosato picked it up without saying a word to Shinjo.
It's me.
Even from here, he could tell exactly how annoyed Hinaya Arimura was. But Kunosato cut her off before she could say a word.
Are you calling to complain or to give me a report? That's what I...
Kunosato had no intention of listening to her complaints. Did she do as she was told? Did she get any results? That's all Kunosato wanted to hear.
Well, I told him. That's what you wanted, right? All right. You make sure you're there tomorrow in person. Otherwise, there's no point. Can you stop this? It's really a pain in the neck, and I'm not interested in cooperating with you.
Kunosato hung up before she could finish her sentence. Shinjo was glaring at her.
What's wrong? Keep going.
That was Arimura, right? Can you stop doing things without telling me first?
Criticism that comes without an alternate plan is nothing but slander, and slander is how you prove you're incompetent and have too much free time. Continue.
You know... Shinjo frowned, dissatisfied, but gave up and flipped through the papers he was holding. How far had we gotten?
The testimony from the family of the man who stabbed the Hekiho student.
Yeah, when they got to the station, the first thing they said wasn't, I can't believe my son stabbed someone. It was, I can't believe my son left his room.
They insist that he didn't leave his room on the day of the murders.
Kunosato looked upward for a second, as if lost in thought.
I think we can trust him. That crazy page he made was updated at the same time as one of the murders. It's possible that the timestamp was fake somehow, but what did his psychological evaluation say?
Yeah, so what's your son gonna do? Stab me? He was still going on about being the Messiah, supposedly.
Megalomania, huh?
Kunosato frowned as if she was annoyed.
What was the illustrator doing around 2007?
2007? They were still in Kyushu.
Is that certain?
Huh? Yeah, they moved to Tokyo in late 2008 and ended up going to high school with the attacker.
I see. So this one is a blind alley then. All we ended up catching was apparently clinging to the barrier theory delusion.
Suddenly, she leaned back in her chair, seemingly bored.
So the two of them aren't involved in the murders, huh? It's likely they're just copycatting the sumo stickers.
Copycatting?
Since they have alibis, even if they aren't perfect, they're unlikely to be connected to the case directly. The only indirect connection would be the sumo stickers. If one did the writing and one did the art, it was probably the professional illustrator who did the art for the manga they produced. The sumo stickers first appeared in Tokyo in 2007. At that time, they were in Kyushu. Their manga didn't work out, so they started claiming to be the creators of the sumo stickers out of a desire for approval. Then the two of them went crazy. One's artistic ability caused them to let the sumo stickers take complete control, and the other used that as fuel for his delusions, as if he was writing a story. Of course, I have no evidence to prove this hypothesis, but we'll know soon enough. Anyway,
what was more concerning was the fact that the man hadn't left his room for years. Would he really leave it just because he learned about a bunch of stickers appearing? And
A.H. Tokyo General Hospital.
That was where the illustrator was kept. During the New Generation Madness, there were rumors that the hospital was involved with a certain religious organization that had been involved in that particular case. And it was also supposedly related to Koshin, the company involved in the restoration work that had resulted in security cameras all over town. I'm not sure I honestly believe that these stupid stickers are really involved in the case.
Then don't worry. You'll be working on something else tomorrow.
Kunosato opened up a file she'd saved on her PC. What's this?
It's an article by Watabe, who's having an interview with the Hekiho newspaper club tomorrow.
The net reporter you secretly made contact with to start that flame war?
Yeah.
So now we know why the flame war started. She nodded and then opened up a picture of the photo of the sumo sticker that was taken at the scene. Then she lined it up against the one in the article. Shinjo stared at it for a moment, and then he realized. the expressions are different.
Watabe has made a name for himself by sneaking into a lot of different crime scenes, not just this one, and getting pictures. There were so many of these pictures that some people started saying he was faking them. Watabe happily agreed to hand them over to a specialist, and there was no sign of the photos being altered.
Shinjo figured out what she was trying to say. No way, he whispered to himself.
I'm going to have Arimura find out tomorrow. If I'm right, that culture festival might be a lot of fun.
Exhausted from all the work I'd been doing, I decided to use one of the meal tickets I'd been given. I headed for the cafeteria. But then I realized that I'd never used the cafeteria before and had no idea how it worked. There were a lot of loud groups that ate there, and I didn't like it. Ugh. In the end, I gave up. Instead, I decided to go out into the courtyard to check on a thought I'd had. The wind chimes that had been set up for the Restoration Festival, and the wishes that were tied to them. Ayamura had said that it was a secret, but I was interested in seeing what she'd written down. Maybe I'd get a clue as to who she really was. I tried to find her name among the huge number of wind chimes. There were no clappers inside the chimes. With so many wind chimes, if there had been, it would have made an incredible noise. I saw several other messages as I searched. Please let everyone be happy. Please don't let anyone be sad. There were a lot of platitudes like that. Yeah, I can definitely relate, that whole sensory overload inside a crowded cafeteria. And then, I found it. Hinae Arimura. It was just a single line. Please let the truth be found. Huh? What did that mean? The truth about the earthquake? No, there was no truth to be found. An earthquake was an earthquake. There was an urban legend that the quake had been caused artificially, but there was no way that could be true. What had she meant when she'd written this?
Taku!
Ah. I turned around and saw a familiar face.
Where have you been? I've been looking for you. You're not picking up your phone.
My heart raced a little when I heard that. I told you I dropped it. You know that, right?
Oh, right.
I dropped my phone at AH Tokyo General Hospital and still didn't have it back. Yeah, the truth of the DL6 incident. No, I was probably never going to get it back. They had it now. The two of them that I'd seen in the pictures on the board in the club room. Of course, I'd filled out the paperwork to have it shut off already. The phone itself was locked, so if they tried to use it anyway, it should wipe itself. So they probably wouldn't be able to see what was inside, but still, the idea of someone else, particularly someone else connected to the case, having my phone wasn't a pleasant one.
Shouldn't you buy a new one?
Well, yeah, but I'd spent the whole day reaching into my pocket and being surprised to find that it wasn't there. Only now that it was gone did I realize how much I depended on my phone. It was probably a good idea to do what she said and go buy a new one, but that phone was... Aww. Taku? Nothing. Anyway, did you need something?
Oh, that's right. I need your help.
Actually, she looked like she was in a big hurry a moment ago. With what?
With, well, just come with me.
Ugh! I was dragged off again. I'd lost count of how many times that had happened today.
Welcome back, Master. Get on.
Those voices were from my class's project, the Ghetto Froggy Cafe. After they said their lines, my classmates all started to do some kind of strange dance. They were making a video that would be displayed in the center of the cafe. Don't you guys know that the original Ghetto Froggy doesn't talk? Normally, I would have been forced to spend the day recording them, but since I had to help the student council, I'd been temporarily released. So, what am I supposed to do with this?
The camera's broken or something.
Huh? She pointed to the camera that I'd set up.
There's no sound, so nobody knows what to do.
Yeah, we're back on our anime gatekeeping BS. I mean, look, we've hit our classmates, and so we are back to it. Sidika's tiny finger reached out and hit the play button. She was right. There was no sound from the camera. That's strange. It worked when I checked it this morning. I decided to start by checking the camera's settings. Oh, so that was it. Someone fiddled with the settings, right?
Huh? I don't know.
The audio output's not set to the speaker anymore. I called up the right setting and changed the output method. When I switched it over, I suddenly heard loud laughter and yells coming from the speaker.
Wow, you're right.
Sidika smiled. I felt a little relieved. If they hadn't been able to take the video, who knows what the rest of the class would have said about me.
Everybody, the camera's fixed. We're going to start shooting, okay?
It was never broken, though.
Okay, we're getting started, camera kid.
Oh, right. Everything's ready. Go ahead. Since I was the camera expert, I was put in charge of the filming. What a pain in the butt. I didn't want to have anything to do with this crap. Okay, let's go. Ready, action. The loud music started to play again, and they all began to dance. But then they weren't happy with the result. First, someone messed up the choreography. Then they wanted to change their positions. It went on and on. I only felt like doing a good job the first few times. They said it was a promotional video, but it was really just a ripoff of something they'd seen on Nikonia. No matter what I did, it wasn't going to turn out right. But they were still smiling as they danced. I wonder what's so much fun about this for them. Oh, I'm sorry, I screwed it up.
Come on, it's to your right. You know you're right, right? The hand you hold your chopsticks in. Got it?
But what if he's left-handed? I really didn't care. I hope this would end soon.
Taka, no, you're letting it show.
Then you want to do it?
I can't make it look cool like you do.
Flattery won't get you anywhere.
I'm not flattering you.
Sidika gave an easygoing laugh like she always did.
Oh, fine,
She seemed to say. And then...
Hey, Miyashiro, can we see what we've got so far?
Suddenly a girl in a costume talked to me. What was her name? I felt like I'd talked to her before. Yeah, I know, we just had a murder over that misunderstanding. Rip Konta. You can.
Huh? Isn't the sound on this kind of bad?
Oh,
The microphone on this camera isn't meant to record music, Tanaka.
Tanaka, so that was her name. Sidika was amazing. I was in the same class and I didn't even know her name.
Thanks. Oh, right. Are you guys in the newspaper club really going to be having an interview with Watayang?
Watayang? Do you mean Watabe with Nikonia? Yeah, that's right.
Wait, really? Hey, he says that he is.
Huh? Why was she bringing everyone over here? And suddenly I was surrounded. It's true? Wow!
What are you going to do at the interview?
I don't know, actually. Tanaka seemed surprised.
Huh? It's not about that video?
I was surprised. Even Tanaka knew about it?
You know, the newspaper club doesn't really stand out, but are you guys actually something special?
That's not true.
If they're having an interview with Watayan, that means...
And Tanaka started to talk, and everyone started to listen. What the heck was going on? I knew that Kazuki's classmates and Arimura had talked about it, but I didn't expect my own class to get this excited. Was talking to Watabe that special? I mean, he is like a social media personality, so like, it's a little weird because he's a news personality. I can't say I'd ever give one of them a nickname, but... Wait, so is that other rumor true? Huh? Other rumor? That you guys got in a fight with Kawahara. Oh. I almost reached for my cheek, but managed to stop myself. Wait, seriously?
Come to think of it, he's a little bruised.
A chorus of, wait, how? And why? Began. Guys, calm down. What was going on here? Wow, Miyashiro, you get in fights? There you go. Maybe he's like Lois Lane. Everyone knows him because he's dating an alien superhero. No, it wasn't really a fight. Wait a second. Miyashiro, if you got in a fight with Kawahara, does that mean the Empress was involved? No. Well, yeah.
Wait, really? Really? Were you fighting over Nono? Seriously, that is so cool.
I couldn't take anymore. Huh?
Taku?
I went out to the hallway as the girls started to talk about romance. I leaned up against a wall and sighed. I could hear people in the classroom asking where I'd gone. They absolutely gossip about our love life. Uh-oh. Are we about to have an episode right here in the hallway? That's not great. My head hurt.
Taku, are you okay?
Sedika poked her head out of the classroom. I waved a hand and told her I was fine. And then?
You're popular now, Taku.
Sedika was smiling. I had no idea what she was happy about. You know, they were just talking about my interview with Watabe and my argument with Kawahara because it was a good excuse to get excited and have fun.
Did you notice?
Notice what?
The way they said your name. You went from camera kid to Miyashiro.
Was I?
Miyashiro?
Huh? Tanaka poked her head out from behind Sedika.
What's wrong? Why did you leave?
Oh, I, had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, right, sorry.
Tanaka scratched her cheek a little. She looked apologetic. Yeah, exactly. They know we're the protagonist now.
Sorry to waste your time when you've got that interview coming up. We'll do the dance right next take.
Oh,
Okay, we'll make sure you look cute, so good luck.
Sedika answered for me.
Thanks.
As she turned to go back into the classroom, I found myself speaking to her. Tanaka.
What is it?
Oh, well, huh? Why was I saying this? Can you give me the original music you're using for the dance later?
Sure, but why?
Outside of the lines at the beginning, all you're doing is dancing, so I can overlay the music on top of it separately. That should make it sound a lot nicer.
You can do that? Thanks! Alright, let's do it! Oh, sorry, you can go to the bathroom.
She ran back into the classroom, excited. Yeah, we'll put all the makeup on you. Oh, that made me nervous. I felt so tired. Sidika waved her cell phone strap at me happily. It made the same strange sound it always did. Wait, why do you look happy?
Because you're finally getting into it.
I'm not really. It's just... Even if it was cliche, for a moment, I thought this whole school festival thing might not be so bad. Yeah, introvert problems. Definitely. I opened the lid on my Mountain View and took a big gulp. My head finally felt clearer. Mountain View really was the water of life. No, that is what is going to put you in an early grave, but okay. By the time I'd finished helping with the setup for the cafe, the other things the student council had needed me for, it was night. The air on the roof was a little cool on my skin. But still, all the preparations weren't finished, and the student council, including me and the other helpers, had been running around the whole time. I might end up having to stay the night. I wish they'd give me a break.
With what?
Well, even if it's the culture festival, there's no need to stay overnight. Huh? No!
Good work today.
Kurase. For a moment, I doubted what I was seeing, but it was definitely Kurase. What are you doing? What about your stomach? Is it okay for you to be up?
Come on, don't treat me like a hospital patient.
But I could see her face twist a little in pain. Of course. She'd only been stabbed 2 days ago. Even I knew that she ought to stay in bed. You are a hospital patient. You need to be lying down. Whenever me or the other kids got sick or got hurt, Kurisu was always the one to say,
Don't push yourself too hard. It's okay to rely on the people around you.
I can't say I can get past the first taste of Mountain Dew. I just, it's the wrong color. There's something off about it. And every time I look at it, like I have the association in my brain with like melon soda, even though it's not quite the same color. And so I always take a sip thinking like it's gonna taste like melon soda, and then when it doesn't, there's like the weird disconnect in my brain, and I don't like it. When I told her that, she chuckled. Sorry about that. I swallowed wrong. I swear I'm not dying. Um,
You remember that, huh?
she seemed a little happy. Exactly, just talking about Mountain Dew made me cough. Oh my god, I have like tears in my eyes from the coughing. Give me a second. Oh,
I just came to check on how you're doing. And it looks like you're doing your job, so I feel a little better.
don't worry, I wouldn't skip out on you.
Even though you were just asking for a break.
That's. Kudusu smiled as if she enjoyed watching me choke on my words.
Here you go.
Kudusu handed me a small bag. It was handmade from felt. Back when I still lived with her, Kudusu had made one for me, Yui, Yuto, and herself, each in a different color. I appreciate it. Where had I put mine, come to think of it? Huh?
Dinner. Knowing you didn't need anything, right?
What? You made this for me?
It's not much more than rice balls, though.
I didn't have time to make anything more, she said. What was she thinking? Why would she do that when she was injured? I sat down and opened the bag, and there was a little lunchbox inside. There were 2 big rice balls, a lightly pan-fried hot dog, and some tamagoyaki. She was right, none of that was particularly hard to make.
It's not exactly what I'd call healthy, though.
No, but absolutely goddamn delicious, and now I want some.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Thanks. I suddenly felt really embarrassed. I decided to try and hide it by taking a big bite out of the rice ball. It was a taste I hadn't experienced in a while, and it was one I used to enjoy all the time.
Hey, can you tell me what happened today?
Kurisu waited for me to finish and then gently asked me. I looked up and saw that at some point she started staring up at the stars. Huh?
I wanted to know what happened today. Starting from this morning, I want to know what you were doing.
I was helping the student council. You know that, right?
I want the details from you, personally.
Oh, she's doing that thing that they do after dinner where they all sit down and talk. She turned towards me. She seemed very serious about this. I didn't really know what she was thinking, but I felt like I had to give her a real answer. I helped Kazuki.
Kazuki?
Yeah, she wanted me to help carry a part for her class's display.
I see. Was she happy?
I think. Oh, come to think of it, she gave me some dried squid.
I see. What else?
Arimura made me help her with some pamphlets. I don't know what class they were for.
Arimura?
Her eyes narrowed just a little. Arimura was involved in the case, so she probably didn't want me talking to her. It's fine. Really, all I did was make those pamphlets.
I see. That's all right.
To be honest, I'd tried to talk to her a little bit about the case, but if I told Kurisu that, she'd get worried. So, I didn't.
So, what else?
Huh?
What about your class? The Ghetto Froggy Cafe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's shaping up okay, I guess.
You were in charge of the video, right?
Oh, yeah, I nodded. It's almost done. I'm doing the rest tomorrow morning. The video's done, so all I have to do is add the music track.
Will it be done in time if you do it tomorrow morning?
That's plenty of time. Yeah, and then I fantasized about becoming a yaoi seiyu. Huh. And honestly, I hadn't expected to be working until the morning of the festival.
But you have to stay here tonight, don't you?
Kurusu talked as if it was the most natural thing in the world. I almost couldn't believe it. Was the culture festival always this busy? I'd never participated, so I had no idea that everyone was doing all this work.
Yeah, I guess. But this year is special. The Restoration Festival is close, and it's the first culture festival that includes all three grades here.
That's right. We third-year students had been the first class at Hekiho Academy. This would be the first year that all three grades had a full class at the school. I was so busy all day, I didn't even have time to think. I'd been forced to carry so much stuff that I was getting muscle cramps, and then it was one problem after another. And talking to new people always made me nervous, and I'd had to do that a bunch of times. I was really tired. What? Kurusu saw me thinking back on the day's events and smiled.
And?
Huh?
And how did it feel to you?
How did it feel? It was hard.
Is that all?
It was like she could read my mind.
Damn it.
I felt just a little awkward as I spoke. Listen.
Yeah?
There were some decent people in my class.
I see.
Yeah. They said they're looking forward to my interview with Watabe tomorrow.
I see.
And the guys calling me camera kid started calling me Miyashiro.
Yeah. Well, Takure?
Well, what? She looked like a mother giving a present to a young child.
You can have fun without trying to solve the case, can't you?
That's... I tried to deny it, but I couldn't. That's right. Kurusu had come all this way, even though she was hurt, just to say this.
Takure, do you feel like coming home? Dad and Yui and Yuto all want you back. Yui especially. All she ever talks about is how you're not there to clean the bathtub.
I could imagine it. Yui was like a mini Kurusu. The women definitely had the upper hand in that household.
Takure, promise me you're done with the case. Come home. There's a lot of things I want your help with.
Takure? Thanks for the dinner. Aw. I put the lunchbox back in the bag, stood up, and handed it to Kurusu. Then I headed towards the door. Fine. I'll think about it.
I see. I'm glad.
I could hear Kurusu's footsteps as she tried to catch up to me. But the next moment... Uh-oh.
Ah!
Kurusu? I heard a small moan and I turned around. Kurusu had crumpled to the ground, holding her stomach. Hey, Kurusu!
I'm fine. I'm just fine.
She was trying to force herself to smile, but there were thick drops of sweat on her forehead. You're not fine!
I'm sorry.
Just go home. I'll call you a taxi. I let her lean on my shoulder as we hurried to the front gate as quietly but quickly as possible. Yeah, and everyone gossiped about how big my dick must be for fighting with Kawahara over you. Yeah, there's got to be something that she knows that she doesn't want us to find out, and I don't know what. I don't know if it's has something to do with her. I don't know if it's something that, like, we know that we were in a coma after the earthquake, but we also know from a flashback that we helped Serika after the earthquake, and Serika was somewhat comatose. So I wonder if it has something to do with, like, that span of time that we don't know what happened. I don't know. We'll find out. Take her to Alba Clinic, please. I got her loaded inside the taxi and told the driver where to go.
Takuru,
Hmm?
think about what I said.
Fine, I get it. I moved away so I could shut the door.
Takuru,
Hmm?
thank you.
For what?
For what, I wonder?
The door closed and the taxi disappeared down the road. Usually everyone called her the Empress, and she acted like my big sister. Now she looked weak, as if I was the big brother and she was the little sister. Oh, right, Yui! I remembered Yui when I thought of little sisters. I needed to send her a message about Kurusu. Oh, except for we don't have a phone. Oh. I mean, what? Like, we were... I don't remember, like, what, 11? I don't remember, like, how long ago the earthquake was, or how old we are, but, like, I feel like, if someone was in a coma for a month, and I had very little self-control, I would probably see if the whole Sleeping Beauty or Snow White thing worked. Like, it's the worst thing that happens. They don't wake up. But just as a reminder, do not go around kissing sleeping people, and unless there's like worst case scenario. I put my hand in my pocket and once again realized that my phone wasn't there. Damn it! How many times did this happen today? I'd have to ask Serika.
Miyashiro,
Huh? Kawahara. Oh no, had he seen Kurisu here? Did something happen? Oh, no, nothing. I see. From the way he was acting, he probably hadn't seen her, right? If he had seen her, he wouldn't be acting this way. He'd probably blame me for putting too much strain on Kurisu and hit me again. Here. Kawahara tossed something at me. Huh? Don't toss things at me. I don't have high hand-eye coordination at all. I almost dropped it, but managed to grab it at the last second. It was a can of coffee. Huh? Drink it. Thanks, but we're going to be staying here all night after all. Thanks then. Oh, absolutely. Like, it is absolutely like wearing a watch and then checking your blink wrist after losing it. Like, I have a feeling that, like, I remember being in line at Universal Studios and there's a couple of rides that you have to, like, put your stuff in lockers, so that it doesn't, like, fall out of your pockets and stuff. And every time I put my phone in there, like, immediately I'd try to check for my phone. So I would 100% be doing the same thing. Um, He opened another can for himself and took a drink, then looked around the courtyard. There were stalls lined up, each covered in flashy decorations. All the preparations were finished around here. I was worried when I found out Kurisu couldn't be here, but it's shaping up well, isn't it? Yeah. What was going on? Kawahara kept glancing over at me as if he was waiting for the right moment to say something. Eventually, he took a big sip of his coffee and said, I'm sorry. Huh? He pointed to my cheek. I knew he was talking about hitting me. No, that was my fault. I mean, it really wasn't. He's the one that hit us. It's not like, oh, his fist just happened to, my face happened to get in the way of his fist. Like, no, he hit us, so, like, it was not my fault, thanks. He began to speak hesitantly. Actually, you see, the morning after that, Kurusu called me. She said she wanted me to apologize to you if I could. You didn't have to worry about it. Well, yeah, I guess. Kawahara sighed, stretched, and leaned up against the school gate. Maybe it's habit. She's always been the class rep since elementary school, and she always acted like a leader. She's been like that since elementary school? Both Kurusu and Kawahara went to the same public elementary school. I'd gone to a different private one. She was great at taking care of people. Everybody liked her. Oh, that's a good idea. Like, I don't like the feeling of anything on my wrist either. So, yeah, that's a great idea to like put it through one of the belt loops on your pants. Like, except for half the time now, women's pants don't come with belt loops either. Like, no belt loops, no pockets, and they cost more. I don't understand. But, no, that's like a fantastic idea. Especially me and one other girl. Her name was Minamisawa. She died in the earthquake, but before that, the three of us were always together. Oh, is that who's on the earthquake memorial that Kurusu was looking at? Huh. Did you know that she ran the relay race every year in elementary school? Huh? I was really surprised. She didn't seem to be that bad at sports, but she certainly didn't seem to like them. She couldn't do a spin on the horizontal bar. He must have found my reaction funny because Kawahara continued in a more upbeat tone. She got really badly hurt in the earthquake. She's better now, but for a while it was hard for her to even walk. I had no idea. When I'd woken up a year after the earthquake, I hadn't seen any sign of that. She'd probably gone through a lot of hard rehab while I'd been in a coma. I am just now realizing, like, if Kawahara has known her for like 10 years now, like, no wonder he would be fucking pissed at us for getting her involved in this. Like, I just, I have given this poor man such a bad rap, and actually, he's reasonable. Um, and that's why she stopped doing almost any kind of sports. They invited her to join a team once, and she refused. I see. There was a moment of awkwardness. I didn't know what to do. Come to think of it, I'd never talked with Kawahara like this before. Let's make the culture festival as much fun as we can. She left us in charge after all. Kawahara turned away from me and walked back into the school building. So that's why. I realized that he'd been acting weird all day because he was waiting for a chance to apologize. These sumo sticker memes will have you dying. A collection of the stupidest memes for the sumo stickers that are appearing in Shibuya. What's a sumo sticker? A mysterious sticker that started appearing in Shibuya around 2007. No one knows who put them up or why. They're about 20 centimeters by 15 centimeters with a design like two overlapping faces. They have 3 eyes, 2 noses, and 2 mouths. They're called sumo stickers because the face looks like that of a fat man, but no one knows what they really are. And these sumo stickers have made for some terrible memes. Totally sumo. Don't call me a sumo sticker. Call me Mr. Sumo Sticker. Totally sumo. Nom nom. Now I'm getting excited! I slid here. I dance with bad luck. Those who put their feet in the ring have danced with hard luck. Make peace with the sumo wrestler, it says, lol. There's even Vocalo songs about them. Vocalo. The boss tells me to put the stickers up with the cannon, but sumo stickers. Amazingly, this song had 1 million views only 24 hours after release due to an article on the sumo stickers published by web journalist Tomoaki Watabe at the same time. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't entirely know that Kawahara's actually crushing on her now, but like, literally, we haven't known her nearly as long as he has. And if the three of them have been tight or were tight in elementary school, like, yeah, he would be pissed. I'm sorry, Kawahara. I did you so dirty. There we go. Finally, samurai stickers.
Okay, I'm turning them off. Wow, it's darker than I thought. You okay? Yeah, I think. Good night, everyone. Right, good night.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow, I can't see a thing. Where's the chair? Oh, Hannah, I stepped on you. I'm sorry. If Hannah's there, that means that over here is.
Ow! What was that? An elbow?
Oh, I'm sorry, Xing. Huh? For what?
That was me. Me!
What? I don't know where I am.
Maybe we should get out of the room before we turn off the lights, but...
Something fell?
Enough! Turn on the lights! Wait, no, open the curtain.
Okay. Ah, my pinky toe! I stinged my pinky toe!
A dim light poured in from the outside. I could see the outlines of the room. I had no idea what the hell Sedika had done, but she was rubbing her head and her pinky toe simultaneously.
Oh. Hey, we can still sleep like this, right?
Why are we sleeping on cardboard boxes? If I'd known, I would have cleaned up a little first. It was almost a new day. Since everybody had to be at a meeting early, I'd ended up staying at school after all. But since there were no beds, we had to sleep under our desks.
Hey, do you two have a guy you like? Huh? Hmm?
Huh? What?
I'm not asking you, I'm asking the girls.
Where did this come from?
Just answer me. Do you, Onoe? Me? I like everybody. I don't mean like that. Nah, never mind. What about you, Kazuki?
Don't try to sleep and eat dried squid at the same time.
Then what about your first kiss? When was it? I haven't had it yet. What about you, Shin? When was yours? Never mind. I was a fool for expecting anything out of you two just because we were staying at school overnight.
Yeah, you were. Alright, let's try this again.
Oh, I forgot. I should set the alarm for 5 a.m., right?
She fiddled with her smartphone as she talked. Huh?
Huh? Hana, what's wrong?
Huh? Was that voice Hana? I'd never heard her laugh before. What was so... Wait a second. Onoe's face?
Huh? Why? Is there something wrong with my face?
The light from the phone screen lit up Sedika's face in the darkness like a horror movie. Yeah, Shinji, don't ask a girl these questions if you're not prepared to answer the same questions yourself. Look, it's called Truth or Dare for a reason, and paybacks are hell. She must have been waving her hand because it would appear, then disappear, then reappear again.
What? What? How is that funny?
I couldn't help but agree with him. Did she love horror? Or did she look like an enemy character in an MMO?
Is there something wrong with my face?
Katsuki burst out laughing as Sedika moved closer to her.
What's so funny? What's so funny?
Sedika said as she moved closer. Then for some reason they started to tickle each other. I'm glad they're such good friends. A lot had happened today, and they were all new experiences to me.
You can have fun without trying to solve the case, can't you?
Maybe I could.
Kakure, promise me you're done with the case. Come home. There's a lot of things I want your help with.
Yeah, we were about to play spin the bottle, but Shinji stopped it when he was about to kiss us. Coward. If I wanted to, I could go back to the orphanage and live the same life as everyone else. Or could I? Oh! We're about to have a delusion. Positive or negative?
Tickle, tickle, tickle. Hey, no running.
Negative, okay. Hey, stop screwing around and sleep, girls. Why did girls like to touch each other so much? It's not like you guys are lovers. Stop it. Me and Ito are like right next to you. Don't forget that. The only sound in the dark room was their panting. It was enough to drive me crazy listening to it. Yeah, the dark or with girls and guy, it is perfect for negative. And then... As I pretended to sleep, I felt someone's warm hand on my crotch. Oh, this is getting very negative very fast. Huh? Oh, we're getting a CG too. Great. I almost jumped up and screamed, but there was a hand across my mouth. Who was it? Was it Kazuki or Serika? Serika was the one who'd been trying to touch Kazuki a moment ago. So, was it Serika? Was she touching my crotch? Was that the kind of person she was? No, no way. But I was a high school kid now. I couldn't stay a child forever. But but could she really be so bold? Yeah, I don't think that's what the negative is going to be. I don't think they're going to have a threesome without us and we have to watch. If Ito found out about this, there'd be trouble. I mean, Ito is also in the room, I'd like to point out. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. I didn't resist. I just closed my eyes and let time pass. The hands were still at my mouth and crotch. Should I accept her bold invitation? But this was... Oh, I don't like this. I heard panting in my ear. It must be Serika getting excited. Serika was getting excited? Okay, yeah, don't like this one. Miyashiro. Miyashiro. Ah! No! The nightmare was so horrible that I woke up screaming. Yeah, I have a lot of regrets. I wish we'd picked positive.
Huh? Taka, what's wrong? Huh?
What? What's going on? Oh, oh no. I came to my senses and looked around. I realized that everyone else must have fallen asleep. They were all rubbing their eyes as if they were sleepy. But was that really the case? Was I really dreaming about someone rubbing my crotch? Was it possible that Ito was just pretending to be asleep? Imagining that made me shiver. I had to stop thinking about it. I had to pretend it had never happened. Oh, wait, it's almost midnight, isn't it? Huh? You won't catch me, gay thoughts. Ito stood up and started to fiddle with the club's PC.
Hello, it's midnight, October 10th, 2015. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Kay.
I heard a familiar voice.
It's a little cold tonight, isn't it? It seems like autumn is upon us. How are you all doing? Now then, the reason for today's broadcast is, I'm sure all of you know already, don't you? Today is October 10th. 6 years ago, the vampire incident occurred today.
She was right. I'd totally forgotten. Today was October 10th. Somewhere in Shibuya, probably in the next 24 hours, someone would... No, I just thought about this, right? I could live the same life as everyone else. So I could just forget about the case. Yeah, both of our delusions this room have been about homosexuality. We are literally running from the gay thoughts. A phone call? Who could it be at this hour? Ito froze as he looked at the phone.
Scene? I'll explain what happened once more.
Kei's voice suddenly vanished. Ito had muted it. His hands were shaking a little. Huh? Oh, shit. What the hell is going on? With what? The call. It's from you. Huh? It took me a minute to understand what he was saying. Then he showed me the screen. Look at this! The screen read, Takeru Miyashiro.
You're kidding me.
What's going on? My phone was locked. No, wait, I called the company and had them shut off the account. What do we do with this, huh? I didn't know what to do. Should I ignore it? I'd promised Kurusu that I'd give up the case. No, wait, was now really the time for that? My mind raced, but I couldn't come up with an answer. Gah. The next thing I knew, I'd grabbed the phone from Ito and answered it. There was a silence. as everyone held their breath and watched me. I put my ear up to the phone and heard nothing. All I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. At some point, my breathing had become shallow and pained. I leaned against a nearby desk just to give myself some means of support. The person on the other end of the phone said nothing. What do I do? What do I do? Ugh. Damn it, what the hell was going on? Say something! Say something, you idiot! Who, who are you? My voice was shaking so much it was pathetic. Everyone was perfectly still as they watched. It was no good. I couldn't hear anything. Uh, Taka? Hey, what's wrong? Oh shit. I was trying to figure out where I'd heard that knock. That was the same knock on the Love Hotel room door. Oh shit, what is going on? Yeah, we are officially involved. We do not have the luxury of not investigating at this point. Like, sorry, Kurisu. I love you to death. Absolutely want to go back to our family life, but we're gonna fucking die. I dropped the phone and fell to my knees. Serika had come over towards me. I grabbed her and held her tight. I was so scared. So scared. It's that sound. The knocking sound I'd heard when I was at the hotel. I frantically rubbed the ear that I'd been holding up to the phone. But it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't go away. That sound? My chest was filled with foreboding. I'd snuck into that hospital and they'd stolen my phone. Didn't that count as something really bad? It's 9:30. Everyone, are you ready? It's time for the third annual Hekiho Academy Culture Festival to begin. Hooray! 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 Wow! Wow! All the students in the gym roared as soon as Kawahara finished. Cheerful music began to fill the room, and students in costumes, who probably belonged to some club or another, began to dance. Half of the students watched them and laughed as they left the gym. They were probably the students in charge of the classroom displays and stalls in the courtyard. Kazuki looked over at me to see if I was okay. Yeah, well, I'm okay. Even if it was a lie, it was all I could bring myself to say. I couldn't smile. Because of her talents, Kazuki was asked to handle the audio system along with me for the student council's opening ceremony. The rest of the student council, except for Kawahara, as well as Serika and Ito, should have left during the ceremony to patrol the school. It was only going to get busier when the school opened to the public at 10 a.m., about 30 minutes from now. When that happened, people from outside the school would be allowed in, and many different events would be held. I had to do my job, too. But I couldn't bring myself to get out of the chair. Huh? Kazuki offered me a lollipop. Oh, no. She thought for a moment and took out a piece of dried squid from who knows where. No, that's not... Fine, I'll take it. I grabbed the lollipop and stood up. Kazuki stayed to handle the audio. She might have problems communicating, but there were other members of the student council and she'd probably be fine. Yeah, indirect kiss. Thanks.
We're showing a student film in the AV room on the second floor of the special use building. Tickets are 100 yen. Pamphlets are free. Starting at 9:30 a.m., we're playing comedy tennis at the tennis court on the roof. Get fired up!
I ignored the advertisements and headed to my destination. After that, Ito had picked up the smartphone and called the number back. But no one had picked up. There was only the message that played when you shut off your service. The customer has requested that this number be temporarily disabled. We talked for a while, but none of us had any good ideas. By 3 a.m., we'd settled on participating in the culture festival like normal, and then laid down on our desks to get some sleep. But I couldn't sleep. I was too nervous. In the end, I didn't get a wink of sleep, and was only half awake for the opening ceremony and final check of the class's video. In the morning, I'd passed Arimura in the hallway. She had the smile on her face that she wore when she was with her friends. That only made me more nervous, and I was still nervous right now. I didn't yawn even once. I could see Sedika patrolling the stalls near the gate near the open doors of the school. Come to think of it, she'd said she hadn't slept well either. If someone with her appetite was ignoring all the tasty treats for sale at the food stalls, she must have been telling the truth. Yeah. Sedika had made contact with them at the hospital, too. How were they able to call when I'd shut off my phone? No, I should stop thinking about it. I'd asked myself all these questions already. Why had they called Ito? How were they able to? Was there a reason they called right at the start of the day on the New Generation Madness? Should I go to the police? But would they believe me? And I hadn't come up with answers to any of those questions. Hmm? I could hear loud murmurs in the distance. Hey, near the back gate! They say Watabe's here! Seriously? Let's go see! Huh. He was early. The meeting was supposed to be at 1 p.m. Oh, wait, he was going to do an article on the Culture Festival itself, right?
Taku, you're not going?
Oh. At some point, Sedika had walked up behind me. Was she on patrol? I'll see him later anyway. It doesn't matter. And suddenly she got very close to me. What?
You need to be more energetic. Are you still thinking about what happened yesterday?
Of course I am. I'd be crazy not to be thinking about it. You were looking gloomy until a moment ago, too. When I'd seen her just a second ago, she looked really glum. But for some reason, she looked better now. It's called, she's got the mom friend reflex. She's trying to take care of us. She looked surprised that I'd seen her, and then...
That's true, but if that's how it is, then don't we just have to solve the case before something happens?
Huh?
Finding the truth together, all five of us, is the newspaper club's motto, right?
I'd never heard that motto before.
You can do it, Taku.
After giving me a completely baseless motivational speech, she went back to her patrol. You can do it, Taku.
Takeru, promise me you're done with the case. Come home. There's a lot of things I want your help with.
For now, I needed to get through this interview. First, there was the video to talk about, and then... the sumo sticker with the different face. It would be great if I could ask Watabe what that meant, too. I took a deep breath and started to go over the interview in my head.
No sign of him, huh?
Huh?
I wonder what happened to Watabe.
It was already 1:15 p.m. Oh, is he the new dead guy? Oh no. The interview was supposed to start at 1 p.m. Everyone had heard that Watabe, the famous journalist, was going to be here. The audience seats in the gym were packed. There were even people standing. Everyone in the newspaper club except Kurisu had arrived, and we were waiting below the stage. All the preparations were complete. But there was no sign of Watabe himself.
He was in the waiting room, right?
Oh, yeah, he came to say hello about an hour ago.
What was he doing? Did he get nervous and have to go to the bathroom?
I did.
Huh?
Between you and me, I've lost count of how many trips I've made to the bathroom today. I don't think I can do this. I can't talk in front of all these people.
It's too late for that now, man.
Sure, but I couldn't help but be nervous. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be framed for something, but maybe. Like I wonder if maybe that's what has happened with Arimura was that she got framed. I don't know. I wasn't any good at dealing with crowds or people I didn't know, but now I was going to have to deal with both. Take the hint. Okay, Ito, you are the club president now. You do it. Don't be stupid. Ito laughed away an offer that I had made in all seriousness. He stood up from his chair. Still, he's really late. Everybody's getting tired of waiting. What's the student council doing? Watabe was supposed to be getting the VIP treatment, and it was the student council's job to take care of him. But with Kurisu gone, they were probably having a hard time keeping up with all their work. From what I'd heard, without Kurisu there to keep the peace, fights and arguments were breaking out everywhere. That only went to show how much everyone relied on her. Oh, fine, I'll go get him.
Oh, Xing, wait, I'll go too.
Oh, hey. Yeah, we have to go on stage in a fake mustache and pretend to be Watabe. It's fine, no one will ever know. Don't leave me and Kazuki here alone. Neither of us are capable of talking to anyone. What if Watabe came while they were gone? What would we do then? But Serika and Ito went off to the waiting room without us. This was a problem.
Oh, it hasn't started yet, huh?
Huh?
Yo, hey there.
Oh, it was just Arimura. Come to think of it, she'd asked me to ask Watabe about that picture.
He's really late, huh?
Oh, yeah, they're going to get him now. Oh, right. Arimura, I wanted to ask you something.
What?
You wanted me to ask Watabe about that image, right? You mean the one of the sumo sticker at the Love Hotel, right? We're interested in that too. How much do you know about it? Arimura looked serious for just a moment, but then she grinned.
That information's gonna cost you, mister.
You're making me pay?
Of course. 50 million in cash deposited directly in my Swiss bank account.
Stop acting like a little kid and tell me. I'll do my best to get something out of Watabe, so help us out too.
Hey, boss.
Huh?
I've told you, you don't need to be so self-conscious around me. I'm gonna keep saying that until you fix it.
Huh? Oh, yes, ma'am. She changed the subject. Arimura was incredibly interested in Watabe's picture of the sumo sticker. Did she think that if I questioned him about it, she might gain some valuable information? I considered this as I watched her twin tails bounce in the air. And then suddenly, the curtain on the stage began to rise. I could start to see the bottom of the lectern and the stairs. Huh? Huh? Yeah, I'll voice act whatever yaoi you want, just tell me the secret. Yaoi, why do you think I'd be into that?
Hey, it's starting. Where are the others?
There was no message from the student council, and we had no idea what to do as we watched the curtain rise. Finally! Oh, why do I have the awful feeling there's going to be a dead body behind it?
You're late, Watabe. Watabe!
As the curtain rose, the gym was filled with the cheers and boos of the students. Ito! Onoe, what are you doing? Get back here!
Uh-huh.
Suddenly, Arimura spoke. Huh? What's wrong?
Look, something's wrong.
She pointed to the stage. I looked up toward it. Huh? Oh! Oh, he's not dead yet. But I have a feeling he's going to be soon. Watabe had come up the stairs backstage and was walking towards the podium. But he was staggering and struggling to stay up, and he looked like he was in pain. There was thick sweat on his forehead, and something that looked like drool was dripping down from his lips. But what was even stranger was his stomach. How to describe it? The spot between his ribs and his hips, right where his stomach and intestines would be, was all swollen up. You heard the word beer belly a lot, but it was worse than that. It was as if someone had stuck a giant rubber ball under his shirt. The students saw this and started to whisper. Their voices grew louder and louder. Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was getting stabs. His moans grew louder as he reached the center of the stage. Just listening to them was enough to make you go crazy.
What is that? What the heck is that?
I don't know.
Huh?
The whole gym, including the three of us, started to get louder. Ugh, ugh, ah, ah, Okay, there's lots of screaming. The students' screams echoed in my ears. I mean, like, whatever happened to his stomach, he may have wet his pants. It's a very good possibility. Some people were trampled in the mad dash for the exits. But as everyone else was panicking, Arimura and I stood there in silent shock. That's...
No.
Something was pouring out of Watabe's mouth, mixed with his blood and stomach fluids. It had a face. Of course, it wasn't Watabe's face. It was something we'd seen many times before. What was it? I knew it well, but it took me a few seconds to understand. And then... Sumo stickers. Arimura began to scream, her voice joined in the cacophony created by the other screaming students. October 10th, 2015. Friday. Saturday. I don't know what day of the week. I apparently can't read. 12:28 p.m. In an unused classroom in Hekiho Academy.
Can you wait here? Sorry it's so empty.
No, it's my fault for coming early. Watabe bowed, and the man who had led him here from the teacher's office bowed back. Then the man left the room. He'd forgotten the man's name as soon as he'd heard it. All he remembered was that he was a typical high school teacher with somewhat delicate features. That was all Watabe thought he needed to know. Still, this place is really empty. He'd heard that Hekio was famous, but once he'd gotten inside, he'd found that it was just a normal high school. Maybe a little cleaner than most. He'd seen a TV crew from some station interviewing a student on his way here, but he couldn't imagine there was anything worth asking one. Well, I suppose there are some people here who are worth something. Since his ostensible reason for being here was to do an article on the Culture Festival, he had to take a few pictures. Since it didn't matter what pictures he took, he decided to just walk through the school. As he went by a class that was doing some kind of ghetto froggy cafe, there was a bit of a fuss. Student after student had asked him for handshakes and autographs. Almost the entire class had known his name. He'd even taken a selfie with a girl who'd said she was a huge fan of his. When he'd told her to keep it a secret, she'd given him an innocent smile. That was the way it should be. That was the way normal people were supposed to act. I'm going to get even bigger. It was only a short while ago that an online friend of his had suggested he come here. When he'd been putting together what he'd found out about the sumo stickers, those fucking brats at the newspaper club here had published just before he did. He'd given up on publishing his own article, but at least decided to show it to someone. When he'd let his friends see it, they'd suggested he publish it anyway. True, he was confident in the article itself. He'd gotten a very good picture of the sumo sticker at the Love Hotel, which the newspaper club had only managed to get from a distance. There was a chance he'd be called out for plagiarism, but then his friend had continued. You're capable of turning that to your advantage, right? His friend knew him well. At the end of the day, they're still just a high school club. Everything would depend on how he handled the interview, but Watabe was confident he could use this to bolster his fame. The ideal result would be to show that the newspaper club were the ones who had copied him. They uploaded their newspaper to Nikoniya all the time, so they were sure to know who he was. If he offered them the chance to help with his articles, they'd jump on it no matter what demands he made. He'd started off at the very bottom, and he'd worked his way up this far. He was capable of getting any scoop he wanted. His power was a blessing from heaven for a man who wanted to be a first-rate journalist. In the whole history of journalism, there had never been a case of it where a net reporter had identified a suspect ahead of the cops, the news, or the magazines. When a writer at a weekly magazine had found a suspect before the police, the whole of Japan went into an uproar. Watabe wanted to surpass that. The only other thing I need for it to be perfect is connections with the police. His one worry was the Love Hotel incident. When he'd charged into the crime scene and gotten into a fight with the cops there, his camera had gone out of focus and he'd failed to get part of the sumo sticker. He'd used that to get the scoop, but if someone on the police force was paying attention to those stickers, and if they were enough of a weirdo to be paying careful attention to Watabe's articles, they might find something strange. Well, it's probably not that different. People didn't really want to hear the truth. They wanted lies that sounded true, embellished so that they were all the more pleasing. Yeah, Minorikawa, finally a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. Hmm. When he heard the sound, he quickly flipped himself back into hard-working, good-natured reporter mode. Yes, come in. Come in? They didn't open the door, nor did they say anything. Watabe grunted, soft enough that they couldn't hear, and then put on a smile as he went to answer the door. Oh.
What is that? What is that?
I... I don't know. Ah, ah, ah. Okay, lots of screaming. I'm not gonna sit here and scream, but especially since it's 10:30 at night on 4th of July. But screaming. The students all started to panic at once, and the gym was filled with screams. Then Watabe's body fell to the floor as if in slow motion. Exactly, he's dead. That makes us the better journalist by default. We win. His legs were splayed. His eyes were open wide, still full of the terror of death. He was weeping tears of blood. And th- that's
No way. Huh?
sumo stickers. Ah! Yeah, it was a huge pile of sumo stickers. Watabe was probably already dead, but there was still crumpled sumo stickers pouring out of his mouth. Ah. My heart was racing. Beads of cold sweat had formed on my back. I felt the scream welling up in my throat, but something held it back.
The, the police. My phone.
Watabe's eyes were motionless, pointing toward nothing in particular. I wanted to look away from this madness, but I couldn't. What's the number for the police? That's right, 117. No, wait, the police were. Wait, was it? What was it? Was it maybe it was 119?
Hey.
Huh?
Huh?
They are gonna find some way to blame us. Like, I mean, granted, we've now been at 2 of these crime scenes, so like it is hard to say that we're not related to it, but also we're kind of not fully related to it. So when we heard the voice, we were finally able to tear our eyes away from Wantabe's body. There was a female student making her way towards us, past the crowds fleeing towards the exits. A female student? Nah, she felt too grown up for that. And she was wearing a white lab coat. Between that and the sharp look in her eyes, part of me thought she might be a coroner.
What happened here?
She slowly looked around the gym. Her gaze stopped at Watabe's body. What is that? And then, without moving an eyebrow, she said,
Did you do that?
All right, chapter 4. Her words. I see. So the victim, Watabe, didn't arrive at the gym on time. That's right. So you three, Miyashiro, Kazuki, and Arimura, were waiting when he suddenly appeared on the stage, and then it happened. That's correct? Yeah, exactly. Like, how would we even pull that off? Yeah.
Hmm.
After that, things happened fast. The black-haired woman called Detective Shinjo, who contacted the police station. Since our club was supposed to have an interview with him, we were questioned in our club room. During the questioning, we could hear students yelling outside and the sound of dozens of patrol car sirens, but soon it all faded back into silence. The police had probably sealed off the whole school. There had been no announcement about what was going to happen with the culture festival. But after what had happened, there was no way it wouldn't be shut down. So what then? Ito and Onoe went to the room where Watabe was waiting before it happened, right? You two didn't see him? Huh? Am I a suspect? That's what Ito must have thought because he suddenly started acting strange. But there was no one in the waiting room, right, Onoe?
Yeah, it was empty.
What about the student council room? Someone was supposed to be taking care of him, right?
They weren't there either.
Sedika must have been surprised by the sudden question because she started to fiddle with her Ghetto Froggy cell phone strap.
Hey, you. Huh? That sound is annoying. Stop it. Huh? I'm sorry.
She must have only then realized that she was doing it because she quickly took her hand away from the strap. Oh no, calm down. No one thinks you did it.
Yeah. Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, Ito probably didn't do it, but we want to see him scream and answer everything as incriminatingly as possible. Arimura, is what those two are saying true?
Yes, they're telling the truth. It looks like there was really no one else there.
There was no doubt in her voice. From the look on her face, you'd think she knew the whole story. And for some reason, Shinjo seemed to believe her. I see. Got it. He'd believed every word Arimura had said during the entire questioning. It was kind of strange. Did the two of them trust each other that much? I guess I'll ask you as well, Arimura. What were you doing before you went to the gym? What are you talking about? I was with you two until just before that.
Did you forget? If so, I would recommend a thorough scan of your brain.
No, of course, I know that. I just have to ask. Shinjo scratched his head as if he didn't know how to respond. I take that back. There clearly wasn't any trust between the two of them. In fact, he didn't seem to know how to handle her. Then why would he trust what she said? Something felt strange. And there was one more thing. Arimura had said that she was with Shinjo until right before she came to the gym. They are in cahoots. But there had been barely any time between Watabe's appearance on the stage and Shinjo's arrival. So, what had Shinjo been doing at the culture festival? Did he know something was going to happen? And then he'd gotten in touch with Arimura ahead of time? From what I'm seeing, the odds of you people being involved in his death are low. But then who? Who killed Watabe and how? Did you see anyone suspicious when he was going up on stage? No, no one. What about you? The black-haired girl had been leaning against the wall with her arms crossed. She looked up.
Unfortunately, no. By the time I got there, the place was already in a panic.
Her voice was as mature and calm as her appearance. She was probably a third-year student, but I'd never seen her around the school before. Maybe the white lab coat was because she was part of the biology club or the science club? But what would a student be doing here with a detective?
What a nuisance. If you people had been the killers, this would have been nice and easy.
What does that mean?
It means what I said.
From where I sit, you look a lot more suspicious than me.
I'm not the killer. Well, you should know better than anyone if I'm lying.
Arimura was clearly annoyed, but the black-haired girl didn't seem to care in the slightest. Now, Kunosato, that's enough. Her name was Kunosato then. Evidently, she knew Arimura, but it was clear from their conversation that the two of them didn't get along. And for some reason...
Hey, you.
Huh? Yeah, me?
Who else is there?
Well...
What have you been staring at?
Nothing.
Then look down or something. You're bothering me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. She attended the Dick Gumshoe Academy of Police Investigation. Lesson 1, arrest the nearest person. It is the easiest end to the case. Case closed. I didn't know why, but Kunosato seemed to have it out for me too, not just Arimura. What was going on here? What did I do? I'd never even met this girl before. Why would she act like this? No, wait a minute. Or was I wrong and we'd actually met somewhere before? Did I do something to tick her off then? It was no good. I tried to remember and couldn't. But strangely, her voice. It felt like I'd heard that voice somewhere before. But where? It's no good. I can never remember things when it really matters. It was really bugging me. Yeah, she's with the cops. Of course she acts like everyone outside their clan is an enemy. I mean, she doesn't really seem to be buddy buddy with Shinjo either, so I think just everyone else is an enemy. Um there was nothing so useless as information that was inside you but that you couldn't retrieve when you needed it. Information was only valuable if you could use it. Anyway, let me just check this one more time. You were below the stage waiting for the interview to begin, but Watabe didn't show up on time, so Ito and Onoe went to check on him. A little while later, Watabe came up on stage and collapsed. Is that correct? Yes. I suddenly remembered the way Watabe had looked. His eyes were out of focus, but full of terror. He was weeping tears of blood. His hand was stretched out as if seeking help. And the sumo stickers poured out of his mouth, covered in blood and vomit. It was a bizarre scene. I looked over at Arimura, and she must have remembered it too, because she was wincing. Blood was coming out of both eyes. He was vomiting something from his mouth. That something was the strange stickers they call sumo stickers, right? Is forensics doing their job right now, Shinjo? When's the autopsy? Hey, not in front of the children. In front of the children, huh? Hmm. Kunosato snorted, annoyed. Well, anyway, all of you in the newspaper club have an alibi. You don't need to worry. I breathed a sigh of relief. Even if I knew I was innocent, I'd still be terrified of being arrested anyway. But you, Arimura, and Kazuki were all witnesses to the death. I'm sorry, but the officer in charge at the station wants your help with the paperwork.
Right, right. You're taking me down there whether I want to go or not, right?
No, you aren't suspects. We just want your cooperation, you see.
That's what you said last time, wasn't it?
Ahem. But anyway, what is it with you people? Shinjo brushed his hand through his bangs. He hadn't cut his hair for a while. Huh? With what? First there was Kakita's death, then that other girl, Nono Kurisu, got stabbed. Whenever something weird happens lately, you're involved. Is this just a coincidence? Well, he was right. Even ignoring what happened to Kurisu, this was another potential homicide like Revolving Dead. But we were just innocent bystanders. I knew that better than anyone. It's really just a coincidence. A coincidence? Kunosato interrupted me. Is it really a coincidence? Is there a chance that there's something that's making all this happen around you and you just don't know what it is? Uh, I tried to say something back to her, but I couldn't. Her eyes were that cold when she looked at me. Damn it, what was with this girl? Uh, um. I was starting to get angry, and that was enough to get me to open my mouth. Did I? What? But I regretted it immediately. She was scary. Well, If you want to say something, say it. You're wasting time. Then I'll ask. I'll ask you. Did I do something to upset you? Huh? You seem to really dislike me. Hmm. Oh, no, if it's my imagination, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't worry about it. She's like that to everyone.
To everyone? Yeah, can we please have a positive delusion about her? Because right now she just seems to hate our guts, and this is feeling a lot like a negative delusion. Um, was that true? That was okay then. Not to everyone, only to you people. To us people? Yeah, that's right. You people. Did she mean me and Arimura? Or have we met before somewhere? No, this is the first time I've ever seen your irritating, gloomy face. Damn it! Then why did she have to be such a bitch? Anyway, given the nature of the death, it's possible that this is related to the other incidents.
So it's the return of the new generation madness.
The strange way that Watabe had died, and then the fact that today was October 10th. Just like Shinjo had said, it was possible that there was a connection. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the autopsy to know for sure, but the date and nature of the crimes match.
By the way, Miyashiro, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, what is it? Did you put together that board? Shinjo was looking at the map that we'd put together to follow the case. Yeah, that's right. May I take a look? Shinjo stood up without waiting for my answer and walked over to the board. Kunosato moved away from the wall and followed him. What do you think of this? Good question. The two of them started to whisper to each other. I tried to listen in, but I couldn't make it out. With nothing else to do, I whispered to Arimura. Does Kunosato go to our school? Huh? For some reason, Arimura was staring at me in surprise. Um, did I say something weird?
No, you've just stopped being so self-conscious.
Oh, I must have been so distracted by everything else that was going on that I didn't think. Uh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
No, it's fine. I've been telling you to stop for a while now.
Fine, I guess. I mean, fine.
Arimura.
Huh?
Just call me Arimura.
Okay, Arimura. First, the two of us had been together at the scene of Watabe's death, and now we had that strange, arrogant woman angry at us. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe that's why I was finally able to talk to her normally.
So what were we talking about?
Oh, her. The two of them were still talking about something in front of the map I'd made.
You don't know? She's a third-year student like you, though I guess she almost never comes to school.
She doesn't come to school? She's a truant?
I don't know that much.
So she was in my grade, but I was sure I'd never seen her at school. To be fair, we didn't know the name of a classmate in our class, so Ito and Kurisu had a lot of connections. Would they know her? Anyway, who is she? She doesn't seem to like us.
I don't know.
Wait, you know her, right?
I just met her a while ago and don't know the details.
Just. Our conversation was cut off by the sudden sound of a phone. Excuse me. Shinjo took his phone out of his pocket. It was an old Japanese flip phone. Who still used one of those in 2015? I started to worry about whether a wrong sider like that was capable of solving this case at all. I see. Got it. I'll be on my way. Someone must have told him to go somewhere. He folded up his phone and put it back in his pocket, then turned to face us.
We're leaving now. Someone will be here to pick you up later, I'm sure. I do hope that you'll help us, okay?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Come on, don't look so annoyed. I'll make sure it doesn't take much time. Anyway, I'm counting on you. Shinjo motioned to Kunosato, and the two of them left the room. As she left, Kunosato gave us one last cold glance, and the room fell silent. No one felt like talking, so we started to take out our phones or read magazines. He'd said it would be a while before the police would arrive to pick us up. The only thing we could do was kill time. Hey. I tried to talk to Arimura, but she either didn't hear me or was ignoring me. She was playing with her phone, too. She seemed to be trying to get in touch with someone. It looked like she had a lot of friends, so she may have been asking what happened with the culture festival. Maybe I'll go over the case again.
Hey, Taka.
Hmm? Sedika stopped me as I started to head for the board. What is it, Onoe?
What's a psychic?
Huh? Psychic? Wait, psychic? Like those con artists you see running dingy little shops? Couldn't be. You mean like in a comic book or something, right?
No, just now. Shindo?
Shinjo, you mean?
Yeah, Shindo was just talking about them with the girl in the white lab coat.
You could hear them? It was true that the two of them had been mumbling in front of the board. I could barely hear it, but Sedika was evidently able to make out some words from where she was sitting.
Something about the strange phenomenon of the sumo stickers and psychics. I wondered if it had something to do with the case.
If they were talking about it now, then of course it had something to do with the case. But still, psychics? Like a mind reader or something? Or someone who could move stuff with his brain? They didn't think this was all being caused by psychics with superpowers or something, did they? There's no way the police would seriously think that, right?
You sure you didn't mishear it?
Hmm. Both Ito and Kazuki were looking at her questioningly.
I don't know. I heard it pretty clearly, I think.
Hey, Arimura, um, do you have any idea what she's talking about? She'd spent time with Shinjo. Maybe she knew, but
Hmm.
Arimura?
Huh? Oh, what's that? I don't watch anime.
She really didn't seem interested. Well, that's what most people our age would think when they heard the word psychic. Onoe, did you hear anything else they said?
Anything else? Hmm.
She was about to open her mouth, but then the sound of the door opening cut her off. Yeah, there's no such thing as psychics. You've been talking to that Nanaoi chick too much. Hey, Miyashiro, Kazuki, are you here? Arimura, too. Sir? Good, good, you're here. We're on our way to the station. Huh? I thought the police were coming to get us. I'm going with you. You're not criminals and you're students at this school. If the police want to talk with you, I think it makes sense for me to take you there. I'm a little suspicious of him for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm just suspicious of everyone now. Um,
Well, aren't I a good teacher?
as if he'd ever actually done anything for us as our advisor. But still, I felt just a little relieved. All right, let's go. Oh, Ito and Onoe, you two are to go to home immediately. Got it? Right.
Okay.
The two of them started to get ready. Sir? What is it? What's going to happen with the culture festival? I don't know. They're having a meeting about it right now. Yeah, see, like, there's something about him. It's sketchy, man. It's so sketchy. I don't know. That's all he said before he left the room. It was strange. Why had I asked that? I don't care about the culture festival anyway.
You're lying, aren't you?
Huh?
Hmm.
Lying? How? I wanted to ask what she meant, but it was clear that she wasn't going to tell me. She followed Wakui out into the hallway. Yeah, a guy died. We have to cancel the festival. No one is literally in the mood to party. Like, what's wrong, Miyashiro? I could hear him from outside the room.
Hmm?
Kazuki made a let's go gesture and looked at my face. Oh, there was something that I wanted to know no matter what. What Serika had just said. About Shinjo and Kunosato seriously discussing the word psychics. Wakui's entrance had interrupted our conversation, but I wasn't sure if it was okay to really rate the idea off as silly nonsense. Excuse me, if we're going to go to the police station, it's going to take a lot of time, right? Probably, yeah. Then can I gather up my things and take them with me? I don't want to leave them here. Oh, you're right. Arimura, you go to your classroom and get your things too. I'll wait at the entrance.
Okay.
I listened to the two of them walk away. Okay, that should buy me a little time. Hey, Onoe.
Hmm? What is it, Taka?
Shh. About what we were talking about before. Can you tell me more? All right. We have Amy and Max Caddy has joined the channel.
Where is the target?
Being questioned for their involvement in the case.
A suspect?
It appears unlikely, but they may finally have noticed.
Understood. Continue.
Of course. October 10th, 2015, Saturday. Shinjo grimaced. The smell of death was enough to make him nauseous. Tomoaki Watabe's body had been taken to a university hospital and put on an autopsy table less than 2 hours after his death. Normally, an autopsy would never be held this quickly. There was paperwork that needed to be filled out, and the family needed to agree. But Watabe's death was so bizarre that a cause of death needed to be found as soon as possible. Shinjo had taken a hard line with his superiors and used rather forceful methods to get the family's permission to perform a lightning fast autopsy. The police force as a whole seemed determined to avoid a repeat of the failure 6 years ago. But what was truly unexpected was Kunosato's statement that she would attend the autopsy as well. Since he couldn't let a civilian, especially a high school girl, attend an autopsy unsupervised, he'd been forced to go with her. The hospital's autopsy room was kept clean and very different from the musty atmosphere you often saw in foreign movies. But the Shinjo, the invisible smell of death, was still thick in the air. It was nothing like seeing a dead body at a crime scene. It was almost physically uncomfortable. But Mio Kunosato, as near as he could tell, didn't seem bothered at all. Shinjo and Kunosato were watching the autopsy from the waiting room next door. The wall had glass to allow them to see into the room. The internal and external examinations had been completed, and now they were opening up the stomach and examining it. Yeah, we hated that guy. We don't want an autopsy run in case it leads you to someone among us who might have called a hit on him. Did you expect this to happen? Expect? Why did you say you were going to see Watabe's interview today? Not only that, you ordered Hinai Arimura to make contact with Watabe yesterday. Don't tell me you're actually the one behind all this, okay? If I could do it, maybe I would. Shinjo couldn't tell if she was serious or not. He'd spent the last several days with her, but he still had no idea what she was thinking. I had thought that Watabe might be killed. I told Arimura to make contact with him so that I could be sure. But I certainly didn't expect that he would be killed today. What would you learn when Hinai Arimura made contact with Watabe? She didn't answer him. Even though he was sharing police information with her. Would it really kill her to be a little more cooperative? Don't you think Watabe's gotten a few too many scoops for a reporter his age? Yeah, why? Just as he spoke, he could hear a muffled moan from the corner. Huh? What the? There were microphones in the autopsy room that would let them hear anything said there. What's wrong? I can't believe this. What's going on? Shinjo pounded on the glass and motioned for the coroner to explain. The coroner nodded and moved the body so that they could see it better. Then he held up a pair of tweezers. He plunged the tweezers into Watabe's open abdomen. From where Shinjo and Kunosato were standing, they couldn't see inside. The tweezers seemed to grab something. Look at this. That was all he said as he lifted up the tweezers. Between them was a sumo sticker, in excellent condition. This was found in the stomach. It shouldn't look like that. It wasn't twisted or broken. The sticker was almost entirely intact. That's not all. This is insane. Suddenly, Kunosato opened the door leading into the autopsy room. Hey, you can't just... You couldn't go in there without changing your clothes or disinfecting yourself. He tried to tell her that, but gave up. It was more important to find out what the coroner had seen. So he followed her in, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to. The coroner said nothing. He just stood silently, holding his tweezers. Even Kunosato was shocked by what she saw in the body. So was Shinjo. This is... He covered his mouth with a handkerchief. It was just too bizarre. Watabe's stomach was so swollen it seemed about to burst. And inside the stomach, he could see not just dozens, but hundreds of sumo stickers. We haven't confirmed yet, but the esophagus shows similar signs of swelling. It's likely that it's filled with the stickers as well. What's the most likely cause of death? Probably suffocation. So this is what you're telling me, right? Watabe swallowed sticker after sticker after sticker until he choked to death. No one, not Shinjo or the coroner, said a word. By the time Kazuki and I got back from the police, the school looked completely different. Oh, we did all of that work. The bustling school building was now almost completely empty. All the police tape was gone except for the gym, where the death had occurred. They must have finished their examination of the area. Yeah, the stickers just teleported into him. I mean, they had to have gotten into him somehow, so... From the look of things, if I went back to the club room, I probably wouldn't find anyone. But for now... Huh?
Oh, Taku, Hana, welcome back. Hey, you're back faster than I expected.
Serika and Ito were there.
Where's Arimura?
She went straight home after we left the station. Were you guys waiting for us? Why would I want to wait for a guy? I've been waiting for Kazuki.
Hmm, hmm.
Kazuki gave Ito a little bow.
Hana, don't let him trick you. She's just being slow about cleaning up.
Hmm.
Hey, don't tell her that.
Well, that's what I'd figured, but I felt a little, no, a lot better. I could still see that awful corpse when I closed my eyes. Since I hadn't eaten anything since this morning, there was nothing to go up my throat but stomach acid. Because of that, my esophagus was starting to hurt. Just being able to talk to everyone like this made me feel a lot better. Oh, but if you're cleaning up, does that mean they canceled the festival?
Yep, there was an announcement after you left.
I see. I was thinking they might just postpone it.
Well, it makes sense.
There was a murder after all. And since it might have to do with all the other strange deaths, the school probably didn't have much of a choice. So, how'd things go for you? They didn't treat you like the killers, did they? Did it go okay? Why would they suspect me? I'm an important witness. That's the reason, though. In a mystery, the witnesses are always suspects. You watch too many detective shows. But still, just like Shinjo had said earlier, it would make sense if they suspected me, I think. This was the second time after the revolving dead incident that someone had died near me.
Anyway, something really did happen today. That means our guess was right, doesn't it?
Yeah. I leaned my tired body back into a chair and looked at the map on the wall. Now there was even more evidence. We could be certain at this point what happened this morning was in some way related to the new generation madness. But we didn't know who had done it or why. The sumo stickers that made me sick every time I saw them were the only clue we had. And this time they were used as a murder weapon in Watabe's death.
Huh? What did you say?
To be honest, I really didn't want to remember that. There was no way to know this unless you'd experienced it for yourself, but seeing something in a video and seeing it in person were two radically different things. The biggest difference was the smell. Even if there was no blood, like this morning, there was still a unique stench in the air. Part of it was the smell of vomit and the excrement that slid out of the body after the muscles had relaxed, but it was more than that. There was a unique stench the bodies of the dead possessed. The smell of death, you might call it. Whenever I saw the body in my mind, I also remembered that scent.
The police said he suffocated, right? His mouth was full of sumo stickers. Did they jam the stickers in his mouth until he choked?
Why did the killer do that? And wait, do you think it's the same guy who committed the other murders too?
Hmm? What do you mean?
Because, well, you know. Ito stopped and shrugged. I knew what he was trying to say. If we assume that all these incidents were related, compared to Don't Look at Me, Leaking Noise, and Revolving Dead, this murder seemed very different. The killer jammed sumo stickers in the victim's mouth until he choked. It was cruel, sure. It also felt sloppy, brutal, and crude. But I thought so too until I heard what the police were saying. But when I was leaving the station, I heard the cops talking about the results of the autopsy. They said Watabe's stomach was filled to bursting with sumo stickers. So this case was every bit as weird as the other three. I tried to get out of the chair, but I was still a little tired, so I staggered a bit. It seems to me that if you look at all the incidents in order, it's clearly part of the same set.
You mean there's something this has in common with the incidents before?
That's what I want to talk about. I'll go over everything in order. That's right. What I was about to explain included a critical factor that we'd never even considered before. It was what I'd talked to Serika about before I'd left for the police station. Can you tell me more about what you were saying before?
Before?
You said that Shinjo and Kunosato were talking about psychics and some kind of mystery.
Oh, what was that again? Um, hmm, I remember. They said all the incidents so far are really weird.
Of course they're weird. That's why we're doing this.
Oh, no, that's not what they meant. The people who died.
Huh?
Do you know the name of the first victim's stream? The one in the Don't Look at Me case?
Time I learned I can see the future, right?
They were saying that maybe he really could see the future.
Huh? That's crazy. Was it some kind of joke?
And then the next one was Leaky Noise, and they said the people who came to her concerts were kind of weird.
Weird? How?
They were acting like they had some kind of fever or something. The songs themselves were nothing special, but it was like they were obsessed with her voice.
What? I don't really get what you're saying.
I don't know, that's just what they were talking about.
Whatever. What about Revolving Dead?
Supposedly he was just a part timer, but he was really successful.
That's not just because he was good at his job.
Yeah, but it was more like he knew exactly what people wanted. Some people started a rumor that he was actually bugging people's offices.
Hmm.
That's everything I heard.
No, great job. Thanks for catching all that.
Was that useful?
Yep. Shinjo and Kunosato were talking very softly, so I hadn't been able to hear it at all. It was definitely thanks to Serika that we had this information. But still. Psychic powers? No way! Hey, Miyashiro, are you ready yet? Oh, sorry, I'll be right there. After what I'd heard from talking to Serika, it was unbelievable, but if I looked at all the cases so far in light of that, I'm going to go over the case once more to make sure of all this. Take a look. I turned to face the board on the wall. When I did so, I could feel strength coming back to my tired body and mind. Good. I was fine. What happened this morning hadn't made me afraid. Everyone looked at the map of Shibuya, even Kazuki. What, you're not going to play SO too?
Hmm.
For some reason, Kazuki always participated when we used this. Oh, whatever. I should start with the first case. The keys were what I'd heard from Serika before going to the police station and what I knew about the victims. Together, they implied that... I see. So that's it. No, wait, that can't be right. But that would explain everything. Actually, there were a lot of things that could only be explained that way. My mind raced, and soon I felt the curiosity welling up within me that overrode the terror and disgust I felt when I was at the scene of the murders. Yeah, that has to be it. It's unbelievable, but it's possible. It was a stupid idea, maybe. But if it were true, it would be incredible. It would change everything we thought we knew about the world. What is it? It's creepy when you just laugh like that out of nowhere.
Nothing. I'm just glad to see you back to normal.
Oh. Now that I thought about it, I'd gotten so excited that I'd forgotten the nightmares were going on around me. I should get back on topic. I realized something. This may or may not have any direct connection to the killer, but I discovered something the cases have in common that's important. Maybe world-changing.
Huh?
I could see Kazuki's gasp in surprise. Seriously?
Wow.
Everyone was looking at me as I explained everything in turn. First, Watabe's murder was part of what people are calling the return of the new generation madness. I said this before, but didn't he just suffocate to death? No, that's not correct. Watabe suffocated, yes, but not just from having the sumo sticker stuffed in his mouth. What do you mean? I stopped for a moment and took a deep breath. I knew that when I imagined it, I was going to shiver. His entire stomach was full of sumo stickers when he died. Everyone's eyes went wide. I could tell that they were trying to figure out the meaning of what I just said.
Inside his stomach, too? Is that?
That's right. He swallowed, or was forced to swallow, a huge amount of sumo stickers. Since they were found undamaged in his stomach, we know he didn't chew them either. That's how he suffocated and died. That's what happened. That's...
Oh.
That's not sloppy. That's insane.
Which means that this incident is just like the others then, huh?
I nodded, then wrote down a brief outline of Watabe's death and pinned it to the map.
But wait, Miyashiro, is that important enough to overturn everything we know about the world?
No, that was just confirming that his death was the same as the other murders. I'm just about to get to the main point. I stopped talking for a second and looked around at everyone's faces. First, the victim in the Don't Look at Me case, Yuma Otani. He said he could see the future.
That's just his silly gimmick.
Just let me finish. Ito shrugged and stopped talking. As for Momone Takayanagi, the girl in the leaky noise case, her fans all claimed her voice had a strange power to it. They said that just listening to it could put you in a trance.
Yep, that's what the detective was saying. That's no different than people dancing at a club, though, right? There's nothing unusual about songs and music putting people in a trance.
But you need pretty specific conditions to create that effect, though, right? Like, that's basically the whole point of a club. But Momone Takayanagi did all her concerts on the street with no equipment at all. Whatever, keep talking. And then there's the victim of the revolving dead case, Hironori Kakita. Supposedly, he was capable of reading his clients' minds.
Wait, you're not saying...
Ito seemed to realize what I was trying to say. That's my partner for you. He's got good intuition. I'd said the expression was different on the sumo sticker in Watabe's photo, right? I'd already told everyone that the expression on the sumo sticker I'd photographed at the Love Hotel and the one in Watabe's article were different. At first, I thought it was photo editing or something. There were rumors that Watabe was doing that, in fact, but evidently that's not it. I asked the detective and he told me that there were no signs that Watabe's photo was digitally altered. Which means there was a chance that many of Watabe's too good to be true photographs weren't taken with a camera. He probably used some form of psychic photography. I wrote everything that occurred to me down on a memo and pinned it to the map. Ito laughed as I put it up.
No, wait. Come on, you can't be serious. Shin, did you figure it out from that?
Kazuki seemed irritated that Ito had figured out the answer before her. She started to bang on the wall like she always did. Hey, come on, stop that.
So basically, this is what you're trying to say, right? What all these victims have in common is that they all did things that would seem impossible, and that means they...
Yes, and that means they... either used tricks to control others' minds, had special powers, or were aliens from outer space. I'm going to assume they have special powers. That's right. They all
had some kind of special power, right?
Ito took the words right out of my mouth.
Special? Oh, wait, do you mean...
Only way I heard Shinjo use the word psychics. They had psychic powers.
Psychic powers? Psychic powers? If this was a mystery novel, the readers would be so pissed off right now.
Unfortunately, this isn't a book. It's real.
So that's all the more reason, right, everyone?
Ito looked around at the others, expecting their agreement. But while Kazuki had looked surprised for a moment, she'd quickly returned to her usual inscrutable expression, and Serika was excited about something completely different. Yeah, there is no way this guy got the answer before me. I refuse to be outsmarted by him.
Psychic powers? So, like, what? You can turn invisible and sneak inside the girls' locker room?
No. Where did that come from? Well, that might be one, but normally it means more like telepathy or something.
Oh, telepathy. That's great. You wouldn't need a cell phone. You could make calls for free.
Forget it. I should just give up on trying to talk to her about anything complicated. Yeah, it's a good thing we're the readers and we're going into this knowing it's something called the Science Adventure series. This seems very scientific.
But once you start talking about psychic powers, where do you stop? Like, you could say that someone used psychic powers to kill them from a distance.
No, I don't think they're that powerful. Like, maybe you only get one power or something. And don't forget, it's not the killer who has the powers, it's the victim.
But if the victims have them, we can assume that the killer might have them as well, right?
Well, yeah. That was certainly possible. Or, no, it might actually be likely.
Oh, come to think of it.
Siddika could cut the two of us off. Her voice was easygoing and unconcerned.
Didn't you say something about an urban legend like that on At Channel or something? Something about how if you lived in Shibuya, you could get strange powers.
Oh, that's right. How could I have forgotten something so important?
Yeah, I've heard that too. But that's supposedly because the spirits of the people who died in the earthquake make a home inside your body.
That seems like a bridge too far to me. What if the thing about the spirits came later, and only the powers themselves were real? Still, I don't know.
They say that where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Setting fires where there weren't any before is exactly what At-chan does, right?
That's true, but
But Onoe heard them saying something about psychics, didn't she?
that's right, yes! The policeman was talking about it.
But that doesn't mean... Ito still didn't seem willing to accept it. Well, I could understand that. Even I thought this was a little crazy. But for some reason, it felt to me like this was the explanation closest to the truth. I understand what you're trying to say, but can we at least consider it as a hypothesis? Well, maybe. He fell silent. Normally, Kazuki would have gotten bored with all this talking and gone back to her computer, but today she wasn't moving. She wasn't participating in our conversation, but for once she seemed interested. Yeah, we'll find out. I don't know what the defined roles and limitations might be, mostly because we've just defined them, but, we'll find out.
Well, even if your theory's right, what does that have to do with the other thing they have in common? The other thing they have in common?
The sumo stickers.
Oh, right.
The sumo stickers were involved in this case, too. No, this time they were actually the murder weapon, you could say.
Why does every crime scene have a sticker there anyway? Normally, you'd leave it on the body of the person you killed. I think they call it a diving message?
Dying, yeah. A dying message is a message left by someone who's dying. Often seen in mystery books where it's left as a clue by a murder victim. There have been several cases where dying messages were left in actual murders. But this time, the stickers themselves were the murder weapon, so that doesn't count.
Which means that the killer put them there. Maybe it was to say they were the ones who did it, or maybe
to send a message to someone, huh? Which means that card would have to have some kind of meaning that all the victims understood. But the only thing they have in common that we know about now is that they had special powers.
Oh, my phone's ringing.
Sidika took her phone out of her pocket and looked at the screen, then frowned and looked at me.
It's from Nong. So, we just introduced 3 ramen restaurants in Kichijoji that are so popular, the lines are stretching out the door.
Well, did you see the one that caught your eye?
The second one, where you dip the noodles in sauce, caught my eye.
Using a miso-style broth instead of seafood for the base strikes me as very innovative. That's right. They've adjusted the miso so it works as a dipping sauce, and it's not as heavy as you'd think. They just put something on screen, didn't they? Breaking news. This afternoon, freelance journalist Tomoaki Watabe, age 22. There was a large sign at the top of the screen which read, "Freelance journalist Tomoaki Watabe dies violently during speech." The Shibuya police are still deciding if it's a murder or a suicide, and are performing a detailed investigation into Watabe's health and the cause of his death. Watabe was in the news recently for writing an article. It connected the string of suicides that have been plaguing Shibuya recently with the large amount of so-called sumo stickers that have been found in the area.
You hear? Watabe's dead.
What? You mean the Watabe? Wow, that's a shock. Yeah?
Watabe. I'm gonna cry.
You knew him?
No, but I thought he was great.
Just a fan, huh? LOL.
He seemed really smart. You know, when you look at him, he isn't all that hot.
So it was his face in the end? LOL. Why'd he die anyway?
I don't know, but that's what they were saying on 9.
Wasn't he on TV yesterday?
He was writing an article about how the sumo stickers in Shibuya are bad news. What? He was the one putting them up?
LOLOL. No, LOLOL. He didn't put them up.
That the sumo stickers had something to do with the case.
The new generation madness, you know?
Was Watabe killed?
By the people putting up the sumo stickers?
Scary shit. Those eyes are God's eyes.
Huh? 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 Huh?
Those eyes are God's eyes. 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 Those eyes are God's eyes.
All right, Tomoaki Watabe dead. LOL. According to an announcement by the Shibuya Metropolitan Police, on the afternoon of the 10th around 1 p.m., Tomoaki Watabe was found dead. The Shibuya police are investigating both the possibility of an accident as well as a potential murder or suicide, and are looking into the cause of Mr. Watabe's death and any illnesses he may have had. First post, rest in peace, skipping the ASCII art. Rest in peace, lols. The Schadenfreude is giving me a boner. He had a dance with hard luck, huh? Rest in peace. That's what you get!
Holy shit.
Who? Rip. Rest in peace, LOLOL.
Whose eyes are those eyes?
Rest in peace, LOLOL.
Did he learn too much?
The darkness of the sumo stickers runs deep.
Wait, this is seriously scary. How come you guys are laughing?
Someone had to have killed him, right? Holy shit.
Today's the fucking 10th.
New generation madness?
So it's begun?
Rest in peace. The sumo stickers are God. No objections allowed. Glad that asshole's dead. Which one of you guys did this? That's what you get!
Huh? So the dates match again. Those eyes are God's eyes?
Why do you guys hate him so much? He's just some loser plagiarist.
Rest in peace.
So, who's this guy again? Don't put a fucking news out. Don't put out a breaking news update just because this dumbass died. I was recording fucking Conan. Worship the sumo stickers. Die. That proves it. Next one will be on 10/23.
The sumo stickers are God. No objections allowed. Repent of your sins. There will be more victims.
You're kidding me, LOL. This guy reports on all this stuff and ends up killed himself?
Sumo stickers are God. The sumo stickers are God. The sumo stickers are God.
It's the return of the new generation madness, and I can't bear it. Return of the nude generation madness. 1, don't look at me. Return of the nude generation madness. 2, leaky noise. Return of the nude generation madness. 3, revolving dead. Return of the nude generation madness. 4, under debate. To be continued? You're late. It's what I'm here to see.
The sumo stickers are God. The sumo stickers are God. The sumo stickers are God.
Ended up just like Watabe said, huh?
The sumo stickers will save the world.
Troll somewhere else. Maybe Watabe killed himself to prove his article was right? If so, he's got my respect.
A miraculous carnival is about to begin.
The sumo stickers are God. The sumo... Okay, etc. What is happening in Shibuya? Oh my god, there's so many of these. The sumo stickers are God. Oh, we already have a delusion. Do we want to go positive or negative? Maybe, yeah. Whatever conspiracy is killing these people is the one that actually gave them psychic powers, and they want to keep it under wraps. It's a possibility. Positive? Okay, let's go positive. I silently looked up at the building. The lights were on in the room at the end of the living room on the 3rd floor, which meant that she was awake. I'd known she would be, but still I couldn't help but sigh. That was the end of my last hope. After Sedika had answered the phone, she'd handed it to me without saying a word. Just like I'd expected, her voice was calm. Both me, Sedika, and Ito knew from experience that meant she was angry. I mean, we didn't do anything this time. Like, a dude just got murdered in front of us. I don't know what to tell you. She told me to come home immediately in a flat, emotionless voice. I couldn't even make any excuses. I'd been hoping she'd be asleep when I got back, but now I realized there was never any chance of that. No, I didn't know for certain that she wanted to talk about what happened today. It might be about something else. It isn't our fault. Like, we didn't do anything this time. Kurisu, it's me.
Oh, Takaru, so you did come. Good, come in.
I came inside and Kurisu welcomed me from the bed.
Welcome back. Hold on a second.
Kurisu started to rummage through something under the blankets. Huh? If she was going to get mad, I'd prefer it if she got mad now. Right now, it felt like sitting on a bed of nails. It was hellish. So is what happened today the reason you wanted to talk to me? Just as I spoke, Kurisu stood up. Uh, where are your clothes? She wasn't even wearing underwear. Oh, but if she'd been lying down this whole time, it would make sense if she wasn't dressed. Wait, that wasn't the issue here.
I wanted you to wipe down my back.
Is that why you called me?
I'm sorry. Is it a bother?
Oh, no. Well, this didn't make sense. Kurisu wasn't usually like this. Yeah, this is why it's a delusion. I wasn't sure how to handle her now that she was acting this way. You should have just asked Yui or Yuto.
Maybe I just decided that I wanted you to do it. These are special circumstances. It's okay, right?
She wanted me to do that? That's a really weird thing for you to say. Do you have a fever or something?
There's nothing to be embarrassed about. When you got a fever and couldn't get out of bed all those years ago, I did all kinds of things for you.
All kinds of things?
I took care of you down there, too.
Kurisu giggled a little. I hadn't heard anything about her having a fever, so why was she acting this way?
I know everything there is to know about your body. We're brother and sister, so that's normal,
Right? Okay, this has suddenly gotten very strange. Was that normal?
Please, Takure. Just for today. Spoil me.
Fine.
Thank you.
But it was still embarrassing enough that I couldn't bring myself to look at her.
Takure, don't look away.
My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean?
I'm going to expose all my secrets to you now.
I gulped loudly. Her face was bright red. Did she have a fever after all? Or... You're embarrassed too, aren't you, Kurisu?
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? This is a lot more embarrassing than I thought.
To be honest, I wanted to run away as soon as I could. But I just said I would do it. Yeah, it is in character for her, but also... Why? I couldn't betray Kurisu when she was this weak. I'm going to look.
That makes me happy.
I looked straight at her body.
Why don't you say something?
She was beautiful, but I couldn't bring myself to say that.
Okay, Takure, will you do it?
Huh? Do it?
I want you to wipe down my body.
That's right, I'd forgotten.
There's a towel there.
She already had a towel and a bowl of hot water ready. I wet the towel and got closer to Kurisu. Do I start from the front or from the back?
Huh?
She fidgeted. It was really cute to see Kurisu acting this way.
You're going to wipe down my front side too?
Huh? Kurisu didn't need me to wipe down her front side. She could do it herself. No, I mean, you've been facing this way the whole time. Oh no, I was panicking even more than usual. I'm sorry, you wanted me to wash your back, right?
It's okay.
Huh? She looked straight at me.
It's okay.
What was okay? No, I didn't need to ask. I gulped again and looked back at her. Her pale skin was slightly slick with sweat. Her breasts were large, firm, and round. Of course, we didn't miss those. Her hips formed a smooth curve. She looked like a statue of Venus. I had never realized Kurisu was so pretty, except for the fact that this is my delusion, so apparently we did, but I wanted to touch her body. She looked so soft. Her skin looked so clear. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't turned on. But more than anything, I wanted to touch it because it belonged to Kurisu. I wanted to touch her beautiful body because it was hers. I reached my hand out towards Kurisu's neck, not the one with the towel, but the empty one, and ran my fingertips softly down the side of it.
Takure? Why are you touching me there?
Her body shook a little. It was indescribably cute. Kurusu was always the big sister, bossing me around and telling me what to do. And now she was squirming under my touch. Felt good, like I'd made her my own. Don't like that one. Um, oh, we went full on into this, didn't we? Kurusu, I want to have my way with you some more. Everything is consensual, at least in this delusion. It could be way worse.
Okay.
She nodded, embarrassed.
Do whatever you want to me.
Yeah, there we go. Kurusu, I will not stop tickling you until you apologize.
Huh?
I was trying too hard to escape from reality. If I was imagining Kurusu in a situation like that, I must be under more stress than I thought. When I went inside, she was sitting on the bed waiting for me. You need to lie down or it'll open up your wound again, right?
I heard you had to go down to the police station again.
Kurusu cut me off. Her voice was calm and level. Normally, this would have been a relief, but in Kurusu's case, it just made me feel more scared.
That's correct, isn't it?
Who told you about that?
It doesn't matter, does it? Anyway, is it true? Well?
Well, Kawahara must have told her. Damn it, why did he have to tell Kurusu of all people? I knew I was in for another lecture. Again, we didn't do anything this time. No, I'd be lucky if it was just a lecture. If it was anything worse. I didn't want to think about it. If her voice was this calm, it was a warning sign. I needed to proceed cautiously.
Why are you being so quiet? Could you not hear me?
She suddenly changed. You're kidding me. Normally I'd get at least a little more time.
Should I ask again? Is what I just said?
I can hear you. It's fine.
I see. Then why didn't you say anything?
I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't matter. So?
Yes, what you said is true. But it's not my fault. There was a murder and there was nothing I could do about it. You know what happened with Watabe, right? I tried to stop my voice from shaking as I told her everything that had happened that day. So you see, the reason we had to go to the police station was because we were key witnesses. There was no other reason, really. Kurusu was watching me with extremely cold eyes the entire time I talked. I somehow managed to look back at her as I shared something that wasn't an excuse that I'd been feeling lately. You know, things do seem a little strange lately.
Strange? What does?
At first, we were following the case because we were interested in it. But now, lately, it feels like the case is coming after us. The case is coming after us. When I said it, I realized how right it felt. That was the only way I could think of to describe what had happened today. It was Watabe who had asked for an interview with us. And Watabe had died in front of us before we'd even talked to him. We hadn't had a choice in any of it.
Yesterday.
Kurusu opened her mouth quietly.
You told me yesterday, didn't you?
Huh?
That you'd think about it, right?
I had said that, yeah. I meant it, but a lot of stuff happened today, and there's something new that I learned.
Something new?
That's right. I realized when I was talking to everyone in the club room that all the victims had something in common. You see, they all... And then I stopped. I wasn't sure if Kurusu would understand what I was trying to say. But I couldn't think of anything else to do, so I just told her exactly what had happened. All of the victims had something special happen to them. They could see the future, or read minds, or use psychic photography. I guess you could call them psychic powers.
Psychic powers?
Kurusu froze. She probably hadn't been expecting that. Or I wonder if she has them. That's right. There's a chance they all had some kind of power. If I'm right, this is about more than the case. It may change everything we think we know about the world. Isn't that amazing? And then I realized that she was acting strange. Her gentle smile had vanished, and she was sitting there expressionless. I realized that I'd made a mistake, but it was too late. She was just about to blow. When she got like that, it meant that she was building up her anger for an explosion. The only thing I could do now was wait for the thunder to come crashing down on me. Here it comes. I closed my eyes, but I waited and waited and nothing happened. I opened my eyes and saw
Please.
Kurusu looking weaker than I'd ever seen her before.
Takuru, please stop this. Don't do anything else.
She reached out with shaking hands to grab my arms. Kurusu?
I'm scared.
Huh?
When I think about what could happen if you keep getting involved in this and then something does happen, I just don't know what to do. I'm so scared. You know what it feels like too, don't you? To lose something you care about? I don't want to lose my family again. I don't want to lose the people I care about. So please, Takuru, just give up on the case. Please.
Kurusu seemed so weak, like she was about to cry. I was shocked. I'd never thought she'd let me see her like this. Oh, so that's it. I still didn't understand how much I'd been making Kurusu worry. Her hands gripped me harder, as if she was trying to stop me, as if she was clinging to me. A gasp of pain slipped from her mouth. Maybe her wound is open again. But she kept on clinging to me tightly. She held me and wouldn't let me go. I was a fool. I was such a fool. I'd gotten cocky just because I'd learned something new, and forgotten how much that would hurt the people close to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize I'd worried you so much.
Takuru, then...
But I removed Kurusu's hands as gently as I could.
What?
There's one thing I need to do. Just let me do this one thing.
Is it that important?
Yeah,
More important than your family?
probably just as important.
Just as important? What is it?
I need to get my phone back. My phone was stolen that night. Now it was in the hands of a mysterious girl who was either connected to the killer or maybe the killer herself. I didn't know. But given what I'd seen so far, there was no way she wasn't connected somehow. So I had to get it back no matter what.
That's not...
I have to. It's got the newspaper club's data on it and information about this place too. If someone sees it,
Data? You mean our contact info and the results of our research, nothing else, right? And you said it was locked.
yeah, but it's still possible that something could happen. If there really were psychic powers, someone might have a way to get the data off of it. And then something terrible might happen. Yeah, now he figures it out. Huh? Suddenly the lights went off and the room was plunged into darkness. The darkness was so sudden that my eyes didn't have time to adjust. I could barely see anything. Kurusu? What's wrong? But even though she was right in front of me a second ago, she didn't answer. There was only the silent darkness. Kurusu? Answer me. Where did you go?
No, Kurusu isn't here. I killed her already.
Huh? Suddenly, a voice came from the darkness. I turned towards it, and I saw a small shadow standing there. This is...
Takuru Miyashiro, right?
Who are you?
A stupid question. If you hadn't gotten involved, you wouldn't have had to die.
Her hands were filled with knives. The silver blades shone with a bloody crimson light. No, it wasn't just the light that looked like blood. There was a liquid dripping down from it that looked just like... No, that's not it. That's blood. Real blood.
That's right. It's blood. I told you. I killed Nono Kurusu.
Huh? The girl with the knives pointed to a corner in the darkness and grinned. I saw the silhouette of something that looked like a head. It was rolling on the ground. Huh? Kurusu? Kurusu!
It's too late for regrets. Takuru Miyashiro, this is all your fault.
She smiled and started to walk towards me. Run! Yui! Yuto, Dad! I screamed out into the hallway, but there was no answer. I heard nobody call back to me.
Oh, it's useless. Your little sister, your brother, your dad. I killed them all.
Huh? Huh?
You're all that's left. Now, die.
Ah, Takare? What's wrong, Takare? Huh? I suddenly found myself back in Kurisu's room. She was reaching a hand out towards me, concerned. She'd been stabbed because of me, but she wasn't dead. She was still alive. it it was just a delusion. I wiped the sweat off my forehead and told Kurisu over and over again that I was just fine. But that delusion was, if I wasn't careful, it might become real. The data on that smartphone was too dangerous. Of course, that wasn't the only reason I wanted it back, because it had the picture. The picture we'd taken together. I hadn't told Kurisu, and I never would, but that was my one precious memory. The only one I had. That's why I hadn't even made a backup. If I did, it felt like it wouldn't be as special anymore. It was a picture of my family, back when I still considered them my family, back when things were fun. It was the one thing that I owned that I really cared about. Anyway, I need to get it back no matter what. I gripped Kurisu's hand softly for a second and headed for the door. Taka! She tried to get up from the bed and buckled over from the pain. I wanted to run back and help her. I wanted to run over, get her back into bed, call Dad. That's what I wanted to do. But if I went back now, she probably wouldn't let me go. That's what I'm wondering. Like, if all of our delusions are psychic powers, or we also know that Chaos Child Syndrome is a thing, and maybe it's one in the same. Maybe it's one in the same. I don't know. So I left the room and closed the door without looking back. Takare! I could hear her voice on the other side of the door. It stung a little.
Brother Takare, I just heard Big Sis Nono's voice.
Her wound may have opened again. Call Dad right away.
Huh? Okay. Brother Takare, where are you going?
I have something that I have to do.
What? You can't just leave? Stay with Big Sis Nono. Hey, wait, Brother Takare?
I ignored Yui's angry yells and ran out the door. To get back what was important to me. I had to go back there, to AH Tokyo General Hospital. All right, and I think this is a good place to end for tonight. Because we did a lot, and we've also figured out a decent amount. Um, Next stream, Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. I have no announcements, so that's all I got. Thanks for hanging out tonight. If you do go and do any fireworks stuff or whatever, enjoy your 4th of July. Be safe, and we'll be back on Thursday. Have a good night, all. Bye.